All right, let's see where this takes us.
Should we just talk about that?
Lol.
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 It's gonna be interesting. Lol.
Lol. Haha.
Gotta get it set up first. Haha.
Haha.
Hey everybody, welcome to season 40 of Spine Chill, the #1 asymmetrical horror podcast, #1 Dead by Daylight podcast. Haha. And we're so sorry about our massive break between the last episode and this one, but we have a massive, gigantic, huge episode for you here today. Season,
Big.
even. I'm joined here today by fellow co-host, Gary, the Hot Cross.
Hello, and lol.
Lol. And junior co-host, Doug, Running Man.
Hello. Haha.
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 Well done.
Gonna be interesting. Haha.
Let's see where this goes, boys. All right.
Let's see where this
Shall we?
takes us. Get ready for the
That's
ride. Yeah, so we have
That's
some
our best
stuff.
intro. That's our best intro, hands down.
They're not gonna
Everyone
think
is like, what the fuck are they talking about?
They just
right?
keep.
You know?
Why keep saying?
No, they're joining in.
Like
They're
that?
joining in at home. They're joining in. They're being like, oh yeah, this is already sounding good. Haha.
Haha. It's just fun to say.
I can't wait to see how far this thing goes. Lol.
This is why we're #1.
Yeah.
Really,
In
this is
every category.
in every category, every conceivable category. Longest running, highest viewed, most listens, #1 in Romania. This is exactly why. Well, everybody, I need you to gather around. Let's get serious for a second, okay? We have something that we need to talk to you guys about. Let's bring it in.
Around the campfire. Come on.
Around the campfire. Come on. Let's get serious. Josh, put your phone down. Anyway. So we have some concerns about the podcast, about Spine Chill. And we are going to be making some changes around here. We're going to be cleaning house.
Doug, you're fired.
I was going to fire from this too? No, first the Fog Whisperers, now this? No! I have nothing left.
No, so we've been covering asymmetrical horror for over a year now. And frankly, there's no competition. We're getting a little bored. And well, we can talk more in detail about it, but we have decided that we are going to start expanding, broadening the range of topics on the podcast beyond just asymmetrical horror.
What?
Gary's
No.
acting shocked about this.
No
we
way.
didn't talk about it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't play other games? Like, am I good or? Like,
We'll
play
just
some,
talk to you.
We'll just talk.
Oh,
we'll
okay.
talk at you.
Yeah.
Do I have
And
to
then
start?
when you try and speak up, we'll be like, sorry, you haven't played this game.
Do I have to play other games? Are you guys gonna make me play other games? Is this
Yes.
what's happening?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have
This is a junior-
homework.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Some of them mean
I didn't even-
multiplayer.
I didn't even do my homework before, like
We
when the
did-
school
we did-
times. So like,
We
how
did
am I supposed
LS
to do
Trials.
Yeah,
LS
but that
Trials.
was-
I like-
It's
I like
a
LS
war game,
Trials.
but
Bit of
yeah, we can play that.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
How do you like those games?
Some Forewarned, maybe.
Oh, some forewarned.
Forewarned.
Core warned. Sorry.
No, actually, that sounds like a lot of fun, man. There's a lot of good games out and coming out, and train is churning, is what they say.
I
Thrilling.
can sense Doug's excitement at this.
Yeah, I'm
I can
thrilled.
feel it. Look at it. Look at
This
his
is-
face. He's
I've never
beaming.
seen someone so excited.
Walking on sunshine. You're like, this is the phrase you're looking for, Gary.
Yep. Perfect. 10 out of 10.
Now, you know, a lot of this, there was a lot of thoughts and discussion that we had going into this decision, but one of them is, frankly, there's just not a lot going on in asymmetrical horror.
It's just such a graveyard.
Yeah.
And it feels like the graveyard's getting quieter.
Yeah, I'd love to, you know me, I'd love to argue, but you're right. Like, if we hadn't had this forced break, what would we have done for the last month?
I have no
You know?
idea.
Like, there's nothing's happening. TCM is on, and we'll talk about later, it's spiraling, and the games that are out, like Evil Dead announced they're dead. Ghostbusters is still kind of chugging along a little bit. They don't have a really big fan base right now. I mean, the audience is pretty limited. DVD is the same as DVD always is, you know? It's just
Right.
kind of, We went through that. We went through a similar phase back in. You guys remember when we ended up having like a specific episode where we just were like, we have nothing to talk about, so we're going to talk about random stuff.
Yeah,
we had a similar phase, which it was fun. But when you consider how many games are out, like the fact that we're having another phase like that is a really bad sign. You know, and who's coming to save us? Killer Clowns, Carnival Hunt. Those games are coming, and we'll still surely cover them when they do come. But like, they're not coming soon enough for us to have something to talk about next week, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right now, so.
And we all love horror games, so it just makes more sense to be able to talk about the other horror games that are going on. For example, like Phasmo's got an interesting event going on. It'd be nice to be able to talk about it and stuff like that. So I think this is a good decision.
I think it'll be a little bit more widespread. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that listen and watch that aren't even really that into horror asym. They just kind of think we're funny or fun to listen to. And so maybe we could kind of tap into some stuff that they're into. I mean, I know that all of our shared communities are big into horror games.
Do you know what people love? Dinosaurs. I've got some dinosaur games I would love to talk about.
Stop it.
Gary's got the long con going. That's where he wants to take it next.
That's where eventually we'll be on the wholesome game.
We'll be the number one Stardew Valley podcast.
Oh, come on, John. We'd be so good at that.
We'd be really good at that.
2 years from now, I'm gonna be streaming Fae Farm and just like pleading into the camera.
Doug's gonna be blinking twice that entire stream.
True.
Yeah, but that's another point though. Is like the audience for this podcast is very broad and tends to be pretty chill with us just talking about whatever. And you know, we talked about this. I talked with you about this with you guys a little bit before we started recording, but. Even though we're the number one asymmetrical horror podcast, I don't think that we've necessarily really resonated with the community at large. And part of that is because a lot of times people that are interested in an asymmetrical horror game, they don't play them all. We're kind of unusual. If they play DVD, they play DVD. If they play TCM, they play TCM. If they play VHS, or played VHS rather, then they played VHS. They're back playing DVD now. But they're not. There aren't people out there that are just like really sowing their seeds everywhere, playing all these different games, and investing time and energy into all of them.
Yeah, the only time they engage in the other game is to argue with people on Twitter about why their game is better.
About why their team is winning. It's PlayStation versus Xbox in the worst way.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, actually. Yeah,
and we're PC players, just looking on, being like,
yeah. Well, I can play.
You're embarrassing yourselves.
Yeah, you guys are cringe, bro. Yeah, so that's just some of the background info on why we're making the change and why we feel pretty good about it. But as you may be able to tell from the title of this episode, we thought there'd be no better way to not say goodbye, but
close the chapter.
Farewell for now. Yeah, closing the chapter. On the asymmetrical horror phase of our podcast by making an asymmetrical horror game tier list.
Oh, it's going to be really
excited about.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
We're going to be rating most of the major asymmetrical horror games that have come out.
We're going to go through the graveyard of Doug's favorite video games.
Stop it. I know. This is going to be fun for you guys. And this is going to be like looking through a scrapbook for me. Like, oh, that's so many good memories.
Yeah, we're going to be going through tons of former games mostly. There's only going to be like a few active ones on the list, but we're excited to get into it. And we think that there's going to be some controversial opinions and some hot takes.
We're going to fight.
We're
going to argue for debate.
We're going to hit
We're going to debate.
And debate.
We're going to hit and debate. Lol.
All right, you guys ready to get into it? Or do we have another topic we wanted to get into before that? I can't remember.
No, I mean, we can talk about the news of what's going on in these games whilst we bury them.
That sounds good.
Point out how they're brilliant.
No.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of the latter, I don't think.
What do you mean? All right, let's get to the list. Let's go.
Let's get to the list. Okay.
I got work to do.
So all right, so apologies for our audio-only listeners, but we do have a video tier list up, but we'll try to keep in mind that some people are listening without the video. So, just before we get into it, some of the games that are on this list, we just used a random one on Tier Maker, that like the best one that we could find. Some of these games are in James tier, you may notice. They're either games that like we haven't played or they're not asymmetrical horror games, or we just don't have that much to say about them, or in the case of Left 4 Dead 2, we're already going to be talking about Left 4 Dead, so we're just gonna
wrap them up as one.
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, one thing.
No offense to Left 4 Dead 2, great game, but I don't want to talk about both games. So that's what's going on there, and that's all we're going to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, John. You did great, man.
Nailed it. 10 out of 10.
I felt like I was there.
You were there.
Oh. Well, then you did good.
You're here right now.
You really pulled me in.
Quick question. So we've got S tier, which is the best of the best, obviously. We got F tier, the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do we really need A, B, C, and D? Can we get rid of D?
Yeah. No.
Let's get rid of D. Don't get rid of D.
We can get rid of D.
We can get rid of D. Delete row.
I don't know, man. See, that's the problem. I'm already feeling like an elite with the commenters here, because it's like there are definitely C and D tier differences with these games, but if you guys want to simplify it,
if something's going in D, it's going in F. It's a fail.
No,
exactly.
I just feel like I'm getting bullied already.
No,
like you guys are.
No one votes about getting a D in school. No one's like, I got a D.
Okay.
Mom, Dad, I got a D. It's like it's the same as hearing an F.
We are already arguing about D tier.
I'm so upset. Like I'm gonna do my own tier list after this, the real ASIM tier list from the real ASIM.
And you'll put them all in S tier is the trouble.
No, just a lot of them, not all of them. I mean, some of them are gonna go in A. Come on,
we
man.
always argue about D tier. It's always the most controversial topic.
Well, C
tier.
Do you want
D tier back?
Battlefield now.
Should we get rid of C?
Should we change F to D?
Honestly, like and this is all jokes aside, like as a person who plays a lot of ASIMs, I think we're gonna have more arguments for C tier. Like they're more D tier.
Oh.
It's gonna be more D tier than C tier. I think it's either gonna be good or bad. And so bad, but like a little bit not bad, could probably be more D than C. But then like, you know what I'm saying? Does that what I'm saying track? Like I think we'll have more D tier than C tier.
Here's a question.
Sure.
Here's a question. Instead of eliminating C tier, is anything really going to be an S tier? Are there any actually S tier asymmetrical horror games?
There's one.
I'd argue one.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to fight.
Okay.
I mean, come on. We all played Evil Dead together. Come on.
But is it S tier? Is it S tier or high A?
Oh no, not the S tier high A today. Are we Weskering DBD right now? No.
Like, couldn't we just put it at the top of A and be like, all right, instead of dedicating an entire row to the one S tier game?
Well, no, because we only have. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't.
And
see...
like we had S tier for like
actually, you know
Cold
what?
Tower and stuff.
Okay.
Defend S tier.
No, let's get rid of S tier. You're right.
Don't bring a D tier back.
Why not? I gave up
because that's why you want to get rid of S, so you can get D back.
We get D back and just get rid of S. That's what I'm saying.
No, let's leave D and S out. I think A, B, C, and F is.
Oh, this is like, what's the point? Work. What's the point at that point?
What do you mean?
S tier is the best one.
Yeah, but high A it'd be at the top of the heap still.
But if we don't have anything in S, then what are we judging it off? What's the good one?
This is gonna be unprecedented. Gary, you're right.
Yeah.
S tier needs to stay, just because it really is a league of its own beyond everything on the list.
Having said that, I am now more convinced to bring back D tier.
Oh my god. Do you guys want to bring back D tier?
I mean, I never wanted it to leave.
I think let's bring back D tier.
Okay. Add row below. Wait, what's going on with the colors here? This is like...
Lol.
Okay, well, we'll just do okay, there we go. We've done it. All right, we've got D tier back.
Can we call it Doug tier?
Sure.
I know one game that's going in there.
It'll be where most of the games he likes are going.
He actually put it on there. Okay, for the audio-only listeners, our D tier is now literally has my name on it.
Yeah.
So. It's the Doug tier.
I guess this is also like... This is
at least it's above James tier.
True.
Yes, true.
This is partially a tier list and partially a performance review for the podcast, I feel like. So, okay.
All right, well, let's start with everyone's favorite asymmetrical horror game. The longest standing, the king of asymmetrical horror games, if you will, or queen. Either one. I'm putting it in C tier right now, just for placeholder, and we'll discuss where to put it. But Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
Do we feel about Dead by Daylight, and where do they belong on the asymmetrical horror tier list?
S.
S tier?
It's the best one.
I mean, yeah,
it's hard to fight against DBD.
We can pretend like we're really having to think about it, but like, yeah, it's head and shoulders above the rest of the field. It's the only game that's been consistently playable. It's lasted for what, 7 years now almost? We're coming up on 7 years.
Moving towards 8, isn't it?
Moving towards 8, yeah. We've had 7. Yeah. It's crazy.
I've lost track. It's been so long. They continue, no matter how harshly critical we are of the game, they continue to put out good content. They continue to add new licenses. They continue to bring in casual players. They continue to piss off veteran players, but they still play no matter what. Like, it's if you're talking about the category, it's the foundation of the category.
As angry as veteran players get, they always start smiling when DBD does something. Like, for example, just over an hour and a half ago, Stranger Things has returned.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, we're going to piss them off with this one.
I'm changing my stream title right now.
Yeah, I'm going to tweet about it. I knew it. I called it.
But that's like, it's a good thing. Like, I know that we're all a little bit like, okay, but we already had it. We've played Stranger Things. There's a lot of new players that have come in since Resident Evil has been in the game,
right? Who
haven't had a chance to play the Stranger Things. They haven't had a chance to own the Demogorgon. So that's exciting for them, right? Like, people that came to the game because they love Wesker or something are now, or Xenomorph or whatever else, they now get to experience Demogorgon. That's made everyone very happy. And this, we've got a new chapter on the horizon, probably being announced in a week or so. Like, as you say, DBD's just been consistent.
I might have heard today that Thursday is expected
this week
for the PTB. Yeah.
Oh.
Which is why a lot of people on Twitter box, and take it with a grain of salt, but they're still, it's Stranger Things week. Netflix announced Stranger Things week. And so announcements and stuff are happening this week. So it's still possible that we have a Stranger Things chapter coming this PTB. They just haven't announced it yet because of reasons, right?
Vecna's
would
coming.
Be cool. Vecna would be cool for sure.
Yeah.
It could also just be another random license, but I feel like that'd be kind of weird. Like, we have confirmation that it's a licensed chapter, right?
This is meant to be the second big L, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stranger Things tracks with that for me.
Meaning license, not lose.
Taking an L.
Right. I'm sure some people have made that joke.
Another loss.
Now, I imagine there's some people out there right now that are just like, Dead by Daylight, S tier. Dead by Daylight, horrible game, trash game, spaghetti code. But the thing is, and this brings me back to the point I made earlier, you guys haven't played a lot of the shit on this tier list.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't know. There's going to be so many games we're going to be throwing down in F tier that you guys are going to be like, I never played that. So you don't know how good you have it in DBD until you play some of these other games.
The list is missing Puppet Master.
F. last time I tried to play, there were 2 active players. F.
Okay. But yeah, DBD, we've pretty much covered it. I mean, they've been the longest running. They've really been the only successful example of an asymmetrical horror game that's like, in terms of mainstream popularity. Like, you can make the case for Friday the 13th for a little bit, but that game got shut down. Texas Chainsaw had its time in the sun, but really no game has reached the heights that DBD has.
It's the Fortnite of the asim world.
It is.
True.
Yes. Yeah.
Real. Base.
And there's a reason for that. And honestly, anytime a new asymmetrical horror game comes out and we play it for a little bit and then I go back to DBD, I'm like, I missed DBD. I now appreciate some of the things about DBD that I didn't when I was playing that other game. Yeah. That's
mostly what happens. When you play a new asim game, you go, yeah, DBD, they've pretty much nailed this.
Yep. I mean, DBD, like we said, it's not a perfect game. There's a lot of flaws with DBD, and it definitely does frustrate us a lot from time to time. But in terms of the asymmetrical horror game tier list, it's hard to argue that they aren't the only S tier game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to us discussing some of the other ones.
Indeed.
Me too.
Yeah. So these games aren't in any sort of order, really. I mean, we tried to rearrange them a little bit so that we could keep the beats consistent with like the major games, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
the next one is Dead Realm.
This is probably one of the games that people might have heard of but never played.
And you can't actually play Dead Realm. You're gonna be hearing that a lot today. It's a dead asymmetrical horror game, but this Dead Realm predates Dead by Daylight. It was one of those YouTube party games, really. In fact, I believe that YouTubers were involved with producing the game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah. Scene Anners and some other ones as part of like, because it was, they were part of like an MCN that I believe worked on it. I think it was 3 Black Dot. I can't remember. It's been so long. But Dead Realm was basically like tag. One person played as the monster, and you can see if you're watching the video version right now, one of the monsters was like this little baby thing. It walled around the map, and it had a creepy looking head.
Giant head.
Yeah, there was. I'm trying to remember what the other killers were. There were a couple others. There was like there was a clown killer.
Oh, there was a clown. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. It wasn't one of the original ones released. They did a pretty good job of updating the game with new maps and new killers and stuff like that.
I think that's the bit that I remember the most fondly of the game was the maps.
Yes, the maps
beautiful
were really cool.
environments. They're really intricate and well designed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They flowed into chaos. Like, I remember like you could hide, you could open up paintings and jump behind them to secret areas and.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the way the game worked was it was basically like hide and seek. And it was sort of a game of tag, like we said. So like if the killer found you, you didn't have like health that they would whittle down with attacks. I think it was just like if they caught you, you died.
Yeah, and if they caught you, I believe you became like a zombie, which helped the killer find the other survivors.
I think you became a ghost. Yeah,
yeah, a ghost.
You became like a ghost.
You became a helper for the baddie.
Right, and then basically the way that you won as a survivor or victim or whatever they were called was you hid until the timer ticked down. By that point, you not only had the killer looking for you, but your dead friends also coming after you. Now, Dead Realm, it's dead for a reason. It's not an S tier game, but I don't hate it. I don't really remember a whole lot about it. This is probably one of the oldest games on this list. It might be the oldest game on the list.
I have like fond memories of it.
Yeah. It's hard to say, though, because I didn't play in public matches with this. This is back when that wasn't a thing. Like, before DVD hit the ground, this was like you had to get in a custom game with your friends. That was the only way to play games like this. There was no public player base, really. So I can only speak to, like, the custom game experience, but I had some fun times playing this, and you can watch on YouTube, actually. I've still got those videos up. Playing with friends.
Doug, did you ever play it?
Never. Nope.
Okay.
I'll actually have to check out that video because I would be interested to see it.
So because Doug hasn't played it, I don't want to put it in Doug tier.
No, me neither. No.
And because it was such a founder of the genre, but it is dead, and I did the same as you, John. I think we played it together a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I never played public matches, so it never got like bastardized by public competitive sweaty
There was no
people.
meta. Yeah, there's no meta. So like it was incredibly imbalanced. It was a true party game, is what it was. Back from the party game era.
Mm.
And I don't think we can just auto put everything that's dead in F tier, or this is just going to be an F tier.
No, God, no.
Exactly.
It's not going in F. It's not going in F.
I would just say keep it in C.
I was about to say the same. Like, part of me wants to go B, and I'm like, but it didn't have public rounds. It's really hard to assess it. So I think C's where it's probably the most comfortable.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because like it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but it's dead, and it was like so long ago. I just don't really feel. I don't have like strong opinions on it, really. So I think C is.
Yeah, I have no negative opinions for it. Yeah. I think it was a founder of the genre, so I will.
Yeah.
Appreciate it for that.
Good job, Dead Realm. Next is Identity V. Now, Identity V is a game that it's actually a Chinese asymmetrical horror game that's very much influenced by Dead by Daylight. In fact, Behavior actually assisted them with some, I think, advice and like tips, and worked with them a little bit on developing the game. It's almost exactly like Dead by Daylight in a lot of ways, except instead of working on generators, you work on typewriters. And the player base is a gigantic steaming pile of shit that tunnels and camps you to death. And
yes, it's like the only way to play the game. You get put into the rocket chair things, and once the timer goes down, you get shot into the air.
Yeah.
But like DBD, it's got some licenses. Danganronpa, for example.
Although it's worth noting, you can't get the Danganronpa skins in the game anymore because they were like a very temporary event, and I think you had to get them through a gacha system.
Yeah. So
the game is very much monetized like a mobile game, because that's what it primarily is, a mobile game.
Doug, did you play Identity V?
I did.
Okay.
I played it straight on mobile. I was really like unimpressed. I don't know. It was, again, I played it on a phone, so it's not the optimal gaming experience. I know a lot of people use like BlueStacks and play it like PC wise, but
right.
I don't know, man. Like it felt like, and I don't know, I haven't played in a long time. This was years ago, but it had like a kind of a convoluted, like almost like a story mode type thing where when you first started, where you had to like go into like a house and like do all this stuff, and
yeah,
that's still
was like, it was a big turnoff for me. I will say that I want to give it minus points because they did a 2v8 mode, and when it made people on Twitch always talk about 2v8 and DBD, like they're consistently like, oh, it worked in Identity V, and it's like, that's not even a real game, man. Like, no,
right,
it's not ever gonna happen.
Right.
Because I played it about a year and a half ago, I think, or a year ago. No, maybe less than that. I think I played it for the podcast at some point. I think we discussed it.
We did, yeah. I remember we played 2v8. We got like a big group of us, and we jumped into 2v8. We also played like regular matches, I think, too. It was you, me, Sino, Max. I think we had a fifth. I can't remember. No, we didn't, because we just queued up as a 4-stack, I think. Yeah, and we got these killers that like, they would just like, they'd catch someone, they'd put them in a chair, and then they just stand directly in front of the chair. It was like that every single match.
It was rubbish.
Yeah.
So could this be our first F tier? Because I don't think the game's good. It's just like a bad version of DVD. It doesn't do anything creative. It doesn't add anything to the genre. It's not fun. They didn't fix any of like the piss poor balancing.
It's like a really, really casual version of DBD where there's like no skill ceiling at all. Even though there are loops in the game, which is unusual for asymmetrical horror games.
Yeah, because it has palettes and stuff in it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got palettes, it's got loops, and the tiles look very similar to the ones in DBD, some of them. Some of them don't, but yeah, it's not very original in that respect. And it's kind of just, it really is just kind of a worse version of DBD. I honestly think that the only reason to play this over DBD is if you prefer the art style, which I don't. And if you only have a phone to play on, which you can actually play a DBD mobile now, which I haven't played, but I've heard is not a bad experience. So
I wonder if there was like a trade-off when they helped out with Identity V. I wonder if there was some tech they got some help with to set up DBD mobile.
I think actually the Identity V developers might even develop DBD mobile. Isn't it NetEase? Isn't that?
I have no idea.
NetEase did DBD mobile, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that they did Identity V as well. I can't remember. Maybe I'm making that up.
I believe it. I can take a look.
I don't have like a whole lot of interest in Identity V, so I can't really.
I know we're gonna
get. Yep. NetEase is.
I have an Identity V. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please, John.
No, go ahead, Doug.
I was gonna say Identity V was NetEase's first. Yeah, it was their first game.
Okay, so same developer. Yeah.
Yeah, which it was funny because like my closing thoughts were gonna be like, it feels like a poorly made DBD mod like for mobile, and now we have DBD mobile, which is infinitely better than Identity.
It was a prototype,
so
right.
Yeah.
So it's like, not only is Identity V worse than DBD, but it's worse than DBD mobile. So it's worse than two versions of DBD. I was just gonna say I have a funny Identity V story. When the game initially launched, they actually emailed me. This was like 6 or 7 years ago. I can't remember when it came out. But they emailed me about doing a sponsored series of videos. They wanted me to do 5 sponsored videos for them, and they were going to pay me like a ridiculous amount of money. And I was like, I am down. Let's do this. 5 videos, you got it. And so I told them yes, and then they went like we replied a couple times back and forth, and then they went totally silent. And I was like, what is going on? So I followed up with them a few times. Hey, is this still happening? Because they wanted to do it, I think, in the deadline was coming up. Like they were like, we want to do it in January. I can't remember if it was actually January or not, but I was like, it's December. Hello, it's right around the corner. And eventually they got back to me and they said that they weren't interested in doing it anymore, and that they were going to be concentrating on pursuing Fortnite streamers.
I remember you told me this story before.
I think I remember this, yeah.
Okay. This. Maybe I told it on the podcast before. I think you just
told us. I think you just told us about it at some point.
Oh, okay. I'll never forget that they said that, because I was like, Fortnite streamers. Good luck with that.
I'm sure that was someone had an idea. Their kids were playing Fortnite, like, this is the market we go for. And then they spoke to like a board of room full of people that don't really know what they're talking about either. And they're like, yeah, Fortnite's a bigger game. That sounds right. No market research.
So, all that to say, F tier?
I'm down. I'm not going to argue it out. I
cool.
played it. I mean, if I play a game, I
can tell the comment section's going to erupt a little bit from that.
Well,
let them talk.
The Identity V fans are pretty rabid about the game, so yeah, they'll probably defend it, but
it's trash.
but it's trash.
But it's trash.
Sorry. All right. Moving on to the next game, Friday the 13th. It's gonna be our first big debate.
This is gonna be a fight.
Friday the 13th, developed by Elphonic, published by Gun Media. This I think this was like the first big asymmetrical horror game other than Dead by Daylight. It came out around, I think, 9 months later or something like that. I can't remember the exact timeline, but this was a 1v7 game where one person played as Jason, and they had 7 counselors on a... Started as a big map. They made smaller maps later, but it was a game in which the survivors had to work together to start up a car that didn't have a battery or keys or gas, and escape. They had to manually drive out of the map while Jason tried to kill them, or they could escape by a boat. Had a couple different escape routes. They could call the cops, and the cops could show up. It was one of the first games to do something like that, where there were multiple escape routes, other than just, do the objective and run out the exit gate.
Yeah.
And it was a big hit from the jump. Friday the 13th was huge. I remember streaming this game for like a couple weeks when it first came out. People couldn't get enough of it. But unfortunately, it was only in development for a year or two before they had to shut it down due to the Friday the 13th lawsuit, which meant they could no longer actively develop the game. It's still playable for now, but it is shortly going to be no longer possible to even play it.
That's not true. Nope, that's not true. That's a misconception.
Really?
Yep, it's going to be delisted, so you can't buy it, but they're going to keep it's peer-to-peer. So they're going to keep anybody who owns the game will get to keep playing it for at least the remainder of 2024 was what was announced. So the game's not going anywhere in terms of being able to play if you already bought it.
I thought it was like after 2024 it was...
No, that's not confirmed at all. They said it'll be at least 2024. That was tweeted by Gun Media.
But it's going to die at some point.
I mean, I'm just gonna get ahead of you guys because you guys are gonna try and drag this game. First of all,
I don't know. John is.
Whoa.
I think I'm the one that you're.
Well,
I'll be dragging this game.
I'm not worried. You probably have like 12 hours in the game. All right, so
like
right now, as we sit here, there are 290 people playing Friday the 13th. It's probably still the second most popular ASIM right now. Third probably. I guess TCM counts because TCM still probably got a couple thousand people that are holding on to.
How's Propnight doing in comparison to it?
Propnight's been dying, man. I'll take a look, but I bet it's not.
Because I would suggest it's probably doing it as well as Propnight, and I would say Ghostbusters probably has more players than it. Like I know.
So yeah, Propnight's got
matters.
About
Evil Dead probably has more players.
I don't know about all that.
So I'm not going to hear this. Friday the 13th is the third. Like, there's no way.
There's 18 people playing Evil Dead on Steam. But
Just can't get wrong. Like,
but here's the thing: you gotta add in that this game came out in 2017 and last had a content update in 2017, and it still has close to 300 people playing the game. There are still people streaming it on Twitch right now as we sit here, live streaming it. And you can't say that about the majority of these ASIMs we're going to talk about today. Nobody's streaming Home Sweet Home Survive. Nobody's streaming Evil Dead. You know, very few people. When I streamed Ghostbusters for that sponsored content, I was the only person streaming Ghostbusters. So, I mean, Friday the 13th got longevity, and it's continued to have longevity after coming out in 2017. And again, losing the license in 2017. Like, they were out. They had a few months to build a player base, and then they could not do any more new content. And this game is still trucking along, still has an active player base.
Yeah, people struggle to let things go sometimes when it's like they're the most fun they've ever had. Like, they peaked at a certain point in their life and they were playing a certain video game and they can't let it go. And now they just play it forever because that's what they do. The game is pretty lackluster, carried by people playing it with their friends. YouTubers played it with their friends. The game, there's some promising ideas there that never got to fully get fleshed out into, you know, something brilliant. But looking at, you know, certain elements of Gun, probably wouldn't have gone that much better anyway. So it's not this holy grail of games that I think a lot of people hold it up as, of like, Friday the 13th was amazing. It was amazing for the time because people played it with their friends. Like, we tried playing it. I've played it in the past, and when you play it with randoms, it sucks. When you play it with your friends, you meme. And it's not fun because the game's there, it's fun because you're playing with your friends.
Well, not every game that I've played with my friends has been fun. I feel like when I play Friday the 13th with my friends, I'm also enjoying the game. I wouldn't characterize it as just a product of the people I'm playing with. I think the game is also fun too. I think the game is a vehicle for a lot of fun, chaotic things to happen. I mean,
I accept that.
It has a lot of things in it, for a lot of tools in it that other asymmetrical horror games don't have. For example, you can bully the hell out of Jason, but then he'll still kill you. I mean, you can actually kill Jason in the game, but it's something that's like so difficult to do, and most people will never experience it. But you can do things like trap him in a bear trap, shoot him with a flare gun, shoot him with a real gun, stick a knife in his neck multiple times. And you can crash through windows. You can there's just a whole lot of things like escaping with the car in Friday the 13th and having Jason come after you, and everyone in the car is screaming and telling you, go left, go right, go right. That's a thrill that I have not had replicated in any other asymmetrical horror game since. Not a single one. And we've played a lot of them. Nothing has really come close to the chaos, the peak of chaos of moments like that for me, Friday the 13th. So I would make a strong argument to put Friday the 13th in A. That's where I would put it personally.
Wholeheartedly agree.
But I don't think it belongs in S. I think DBD is the only one that belongs in S. You know, and there's part of it is just the mystery of we don't know what could have happened to it because, well, it shut down 2017, right? They haven't been able to actively develop it since. So we don't know what could have happened in the last 6 years. But just based on the 1 to 2 years that was in the spotlight, I think it belongs in A.
Agreed.
I think it belongs in B. I think it has some elements where I can see where people like it. I totally understand where you're coming from that perspective, but I think a part of it is this mystery of, what could it have been? And like, if I tell you what, if TCM ends up in A, I'm like, fair enough. Let's put Friday the 13th in A as well, because clearly they would have taken it to heights. But I just can't see that happening. So I would like to put it in B, because I think it would have ultimately just kind of gone the way it went anyway. I think it was a party game for a very niche player base. I don't think it would have ever built up to where DBD is or anywhere close to it. I think it would have gone the same way regardless.
Well, I don't think it would.
Probably not at the speed of it dropping, but it would have.
Well, yeah, I don't think it would have had a 7-year lifespan like DBD,
It already has,
but
though. It already has. It still has a lifespan.
well,
It's still being
but
played.
in terms of keeping the player base consistent with, more consistent with how it was in terms of its previous popularity. I mean,
I think if it had kept going, it'd have completely died by now. I think a lot of what keeps it going is nostalgia and the fact that it is just a mess of like chaos.
It sounds like a person who didn't really get it and didn't really enjoy it. Like you hated
I
it
didn't.
when we played it as friends. You were like, "Oh, I'm miserable." You ended up
so
doing
boring,
skipping games. So
boring.
I think that there might be a personal element of I didn't like it, so it's bad. Not it's bad.
Whereas every other game, you're like, personally, I liked this game, so it goes up. Like I'm saying B tier. I'm not putting it in F tier.
It's not
like
if
it
it's
not
going in.
If it was based,
it's not going any lower than A though.
If it was,
it's actually incredible. So it's a great game, and
I strongly disagree. Like I think I can see why you're so attached to it, and I get it, but the game design's just. It's so driven by the players rather than the game design itself. I agree that it gives you a playground to play around in and have fun with your friends and stuff, but it's so driven by you, the players, having a fun time, playing stuff down the microphone, creating these moments. Like, I agree it's a good sandbox, but as a game itself, it's lacking. I think it's a great sandbox. I accept that, but I just don't think the game itself is what drives it as a good thing.
Gary, I'm gonna pull a card, and it's not gonna be polite, but like you have under 10 hours in the game, dude. Like you have under 10 hours in this game.
I don't see why that matters.
I mean, it really does though, because like you can't really get a good gauge on basically any game in under 10 hours. Like that's like 10 hours is like a day of playing the game, and the game was out for 7 years.
A day of playing the game. I don't care how long the game's been out. I can play a game for 4 hours and realize it's shit. Like I don't have to play games forever. Just because you put 300 hours into it and you loved it doesn't mean that my opinion is
hours in general.
What games? How many hours do you think you should have to play a game to decide if it's good or bad?
I mean, more than 9. I feel like.
Well, good. So as we agreed, I've got 10 hours in it. So perfect.
Well, you actually had 9.7. So
still, it's more than 9. So I guess we can deem the game as bad. Like, this is a ludicrous argument to make. I can watch a film for half an hour and realize it's kind of crap. Like,
right. But see, that's the thing. Like, there's a huge. Like you're in the minority saying that it's a bad game. Like,
that's fine.
The thing is, like, the majority of people are like,
I'm not even saying it's a bad game. I'm not even saying it's a bad game. I'm putting it in B. You are hearing it's not A and putting it as like, oh, Gary thinks it's F. I think it's B.
But it's better than B. Like, it's better than B. It's a great game. It's like widely considered one of the greatest horror games ever made.
I think you have rose-tinted glasses on for nostalgia.
Of course, you're making a false characterization that this is a nostalgia trip when people actually genuinely enjoyed this game, including our other co-hosts. So,
like, I can accept that people enjoyed it. I just don't like this idea.
I've literally never spoken to a person other than you that doesn't think it's a fun game. Like, it's always just like, oh, it's such a fun game. It's so sad that it died. Like, you're the only person that doesn't think it's a fun game. That's your taste, right?
That's because you live in a bubble, Doug.
I don't live in a bubble, bro. I literally do not. I live in an apartment, and there's a cat here, and it's actually quite nice. You've been here. You slept on the futon that I'm looking at right now. You know I don't live in a bubble, Gary. That's ridiculous.
I just mean it's like
another ridiculous argument from Mr. Texas Star, Mr. Friday the 13th. Not fun.
I didn't say it's not fun. I can completely understand. Again, it's B tier. I think I made it very clear that I think Dead Realm was a fun game, and I'm putting it above that. I just don't think it's just below DBD.
Who said it was just below? Because the gulf
A tier is just below DBD.
But the gulf between A and S is like massive.
I know. I think there's a whole
about like
a whole
low
gulf.
A to high S gulf.
And the thing is, like, if we're gonna base Friday the 13th A, then nothing else is gonna go in A because it's literally the second best A sim ever made. Yeah. There's nothing better than that.
That's ludicrous to me.
No, it's not. It's an outstanding game. Way before its time.
That's ludicrous to me.
No matter where we put it, we are going to be arguing about Friday the 13th for the rest of the of the episode, I'm pretty sure, because then wherever we play anything else, we're gonna be arguing about like above Friday or below Friday.
Like I'm like blown away. So you think Friday the 13th is the second best ASIM?
There's a couple other. Well, there's other ones that you're gonna just be upset about. This is the problem. See, I shouldn't even have been on. I should have just sat out. 'Cause you're like, well, I got 9 hours in this game. I got 4 in this one. I got 7 in this one. Like, you haven't really.
Not everyone
really
puts 55 hours into the Shark game, Doug.
But you just have to dig in and like really get a chance to experience.
Some people
the game.
play other games as well.
In 2 sessions, you're not gonna get to really experience everything that a game has to offer you, bro. Like. This reminds me of the video I watched of like the Starfield guy who was like complaining about Starfield and he never even made it through like the tutorial. Like, is this
again?
Like
this idea that 10 hours is nothing is.
It says nothing, but it's very hard for me.
Just because you put a ridiculously large amount of hours into a game does not belittle someone who's put. Like 10 hours is still a long time in a game.
Yeah, I mean maybe if
you can complete full single player games. I know you don't play them, but you can complete entire games in less than 10 hours. 10 hours is a good amount of time to put into any game.
That's a false equivalence because it's
not.
Yeah, because a single player game is designed for you to experience everything the game has to offer in 7 to 9 hours. Whereas
I didn't experience all of Friday the 13th in 10 hours.
You really didn't. No. If you don't think it's fun, then no, you didn't.
Oh my god. I think that's ludicrous, but put it out if you want to. If you're that heavy on it,
if it means so much to you,
kind of like I think it's a B game. Does. I think I've made a fair point.
So much to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's try to move on. Resident Evil Resistance.
Here, you're in luck, Gary. I never played it. I never played it, so I don't have a skin in the game. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
According to Doug, I'm the only one who can have an opinion on this because I'm the only one who has more than 10 hours in it. So sorry, John, you can't.
I have more than 10 hours in it.
Okay, can I? I want to circle back one last thing before I go on my potty break. All right. I'm not saying you have to have an egregious amount of hours in any game to get a good read on how the game is, but if you're gonna make some sort of like, oh, the only reason people like it is because of nostalgia. And it's like you barely played the game. So, like,
as someone who played it after the nostalgia kick, it wasn't great after. Maybe during the heyday, I'm like, maybe this was like why people love it. Maybe back then it was fantastic because everyone was loving it. It was the new shiny toy. But when I played it like a couple of years later or whatever, the shine wasn't there.
No, I still have fun when I play it. I played it a few months ago and had a blast. All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, if we look through this list of games that Doug had a blast playing, I don't see that as much of an argument against me. But yeah, moving on.
Yeah, Resident Evil Resistance. This will be fun to talk about.
It's going to be sad to talk about.
Another dead asymmetrical horror game. So this one was a little bit different than a lot of the other asymmetrical horror games that have come out because it was a 1v4 game, but the one wasn't just a playable character on the map that you could be like a killer. It was a mastermind, and the mastermind could spawn enemies onto the map to slow down the survivor team while the time ticked down in the background.
Yeah, it was great time management back and forth. Because when the survivors would kill zombies, like kill the cards that were placed down, they would gain time, and when they went down, they'd lose time.
Mm-hmm. The way that the mastermind kept track of the survivors was by cameras, which the survivors could disable, and which some of the masterminds could shoot the survivors from. And one of the common criticisms of the game was that it kind of turned into camera gun simulator, but we'll talk about that as we assess the game. But it was a really unique game overall. You could play as different Resident Evil characters, although admittedly not enough of the main characters from the franchise. Jill Valentine was in the game. Nikolai from RE3 was in the game, but it didn't really take advantage of the cast of characters as much as it should have, and Capcom unfortunately shut it down just 6 to 9 months probably after it started development.
I think it lasted about a year and then it went down. But like the final stages of it were just kind of them churning out cosmetics. Because Neobards, right, that made this one.
Neobards, yes.
Who got moved on to Reverse.
Yes, which is not on the list because it's not an asymmetrical game, but that game would be an F tier. Bottom of F tier.
But there was lots of other characters in there. Like you could play Nemesis, Mr. X. Alex Wesker was in it.
Yeah.
Birkin and Amanda.
Birkin, yeah. Yeah, you could play as those.
So my opinion of Resistance is I thought it was fantastic. When it first came out, it was really innovative, very different. The card system made it very simple to understand from how to figure out how to build decks and build your mastermind up. And the survivors worked as 4, and it was taking out the cameras. It was very different to DBD. It was a real breath of fresh air, I think, for the ASIM world. What kind of happened was the lockdown kicked in because of the COVID pandemic. And as a result, I think neobards have found it very difficult to produce more content. And as a result, we got Nikolai, who I think would have come out with Hunters and other interesting zombie cards, but I think they had to recycle mechanics that were already in the game. So that's why it became a gun simulator, and then that worked really horrible with Spencer.
Yeah.
Created some very evil builds. I mean, Sinnoh created some real atrocious stuff using the gun cards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to Friday the 13th in terms of like it didn't get to see its fruition. So it's difficult to say where it could have gone. For me, I think it's one of the better asymmetrical games that was ever made out of this entire list. I think it was one of the most creative. I think I had so much fun playing both sides of it. The mastermind was so good. Like me and Sinnoh still just talk about this game for how good it was. And I think had it continued to go, I personally think it could have fought against DBD, mostly because of the license. I think it could have, because it also was released with Resident Evil 3. It didn't have its own standalone release, so it was like hidden with Resident Evil 3. Like Capcom really just screwed it up, because I think it's a fantastic game. And had it been properly marketed and stuff, I think it could have been really good. So yeah, that's my kind of opinion on it.
If I could get a word in, I know I didn't play it, but I will say that I agree 1,000% that like licensing is a huge part of like what keeps a game sustainable and like moving forward. Because like we see how Resident Evil impacted DBD. Like how many people came just for Resident Evil and still play DBD? How many Resident Evil characters are in your lobbies when you're playing DBD? A and B, everyone I've spoken to, and this goes beyond our like nucleus of our friends group. Like you and Sinnoh obviously rave about it all the time, but I've spoken with other people completely out of our network who like everybody to a person is like, oh, what could have been with that game? It was so good when it first came out. Like they have that whole nostalgic, like maybe not nostalgic yet because it hasn't been that long, but yeah.
No, I think nostalgia. Like I look back at it fondly and be like, oh, it was so good.
Yeah. So I would agree that there's a lot. Like it's unfortunate that I never even got a chance to try it as much as I enjoyed the genre, and now it's like too late. So.
Well, I think the Jackal.
Bloody
Jackal.
I think what it gets extra points for too is how original it was, because a lot of games that came out in the asymmetrical genre have tried to replicate DBD with that 1v4, one person's the killer, the other 4 are survivors. And in this one, it opted for more of like a third person, like omnipresent approach to the one player, where they could move around the map, they could bring forth different enemies. It was more of like a director position, right? And that was something really unique, and they really perfected the gameplay of that, aside from the camera gun thing. But if Capcom had really just let them let loose, it's another kind of case of what could have been, Yeah,
because to my understanding, they were very cautious of the licensing and how they could use the characters a lot of the time as well.
Yeah.
What Capcom can be like. I also would say, as another pointer to it, like it felt like a team-based game. You know how DBD, you're a solo survivor. You just you don't have to work together. This game, you had to work together. Like it was, and the same way you feel about Friday the 13th in terms of the exhilaration of like the car stuff. I think the most exhilaration I've had in an ASIM game was through Resistance. Like that when it gets really close and like the survivors are just fighting for time to keep going, they're killing zombies, and you're as the mastermind trying to like kill them at the exit door or something. It was just the most fun I've ever had in an ASIM game.
Yeah. No, it's got a lot of bonus points for it, for sure. And I wish that we had seen Hunters in the game. I wish that Wesker, Alex Wesker, or Albert Wesker, sorry, Albert Wesker could have been a mastermind, and I wish we could have seen Leon in the game and all sorts of stuff. I think it would have really been amazing. Imagine playing it on like the RPD, the police station, or like any other iconic set piece from the games. It could have really been cool. Where do we want to put it?
Well, see, I would have probably put it in B, but with Friday the 13th where it is, I feel like it has to go in A.
I would be willing to put it in A.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue either, because basically every point that you made about Friday the 13th, like, I agree with in terms of like, or every point you made about Resistance, like I agree with in conjunction with Resistance, like popular license, like exciting nostalgia, hype, like, and again, I'm taking your guys' word for it that it was a strong ASIM game, and I don't think anybody that I've talked to has said anything otherwise. So yeah, I don't see any problem with putting it in A.
Another thing to note about the game is that, like, really the reason that it failed was not because it wasn't a well-designed game or wasn't successful, because it was pretty successful. It was just wasted on the Resident Evil fan base, honestly.
Yeah, the Resident Evil players are not.
The Resident Evil players, they complained to high heaven about this shit. They were like, this bundle. They didn't even need to play it, but they were offended that it existed. They wanted a single player game. They wanted Outbreak 3.
That was it. They wanted Outbreak, yeah.
Really,
they hated this before they played it.
Outbreak was a Resident Evil game where you could play it co-op against. It's one of the few that you could play like 4-player co-op. It was the only actually that you could play 4-player co-op. Go through like single player missions. Really, I say single player missions, but not multiplayer.
Yeah, I actually got to play a bit of Outbreak. I played it with Sinnoh, and it was really good. I can see why people want another one.
Yeah, I played through Outbreak and Outbreak File Number 2. And those were released, 20 years ago, and they want a third one. And that's basically what this was. I remember playing with our friend Gab. We played for like a few sessions, and she was like, "This is basically Outbreak 3. Like, this is the same vibe as Outbreak. It's just multiplayer." And I was like, "Exactly." But the Resident Evil fan base did not see it that way. They never even gave it a chance, most of them. So, oh well. But that's not a knock against the game. That's just a footnote,
I was gonna try and knock it because I took a look on Steam charts and there's only like 30 people playing right now. But then I started to think about it, like doing self-reflection, and it's like it's not the same style of game as Friday the 13th in the sense of like a Friday the 13th. Like Gary, you made the good point. It's like basically a party game, right? So that's the kind of thing you can keep playing. Like I feel like if you try to play Resistance like a party game, it would just not be fun, right?
No, it was a competitive game.
That's what I'm saying, right? So
exactly.
So that's not obviously not going to have that kind of long-standing. If it's got getting balance changes, it's not going to have a long-standing.
Are you saying Resistance has 30 players playing it? Right?
Yeah, like 28, I think is what I saw.
Has the Jackal released his hold on the game? Can you actually play it now?
28.
There was if you're unfamiliar, there was a hacker that was like holding the game hostage, and you literally couldn't queue up for months.
Okay.
28 people playing right now.
With that information, it has to go top of A tier. I can't believe it's got anyone playing it. Yeah, I can't believe it's got anyone playing it still. People are still playing Resistance.
It gets minus points for being a competitive game, Gary. Come on. It's got to be minus points. It's a comp game.
No, it doesn't matter. 30 people are still playing a competitive... Like, you can't just play it with your friends, like, in a party kind of fun. Let's have, like, some drinks away.
You know what? In an effort to maintain my friendship with Gary after the podcast cuts, and because I know I'm going to need help later, I'm willing to give Resistance, because again, I didn't play it, so I'd feel bad. Like, I can't fight that hard.
I feel better about Friday the 13th being A.
Also, I'm going to say this too, and this isn't fair, but I don't care. This is our fucking tier list. I can do what I want. Gun Media and their handling of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm gonna give them a little minus points for that. In terms of like the way they're handling the game they've got now means that like we have to give Friday the 13th some. I don't know how it would have gone if they had kept the license, because if this is the way that they're managing TCM, is that the way they would have managed Friday the 13th? Right?
Well, I would argue no, because there's some things in Friday the 13th that are very party game-esque that I'm like, somebody other than the people that worked on TCM came up with this shit, and they were more in control. I don't know if it was Randy Greenback, I don't know who it was, but they were more of the director.
I would argue that Friday the 13th was probably good because of Ilphonic.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You might be onto something, Gary.
You know what? That's
because we're going to be talking about Ilphonic.
We're going to be talking about
We're talking about
Ghostbusters
Ilphonic
later.
a lot.
Yeah, we're talking about Ilphonic.
a lot.
So.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
so you
bro!
know, with the
my god,
with the reflection of like Ilphonic being involved, I'm happy to put in A tier. It's below Resistance, which was like my main thing I was worried about.
Well, I just feel like I took a fucking Matrix pill because I had never even considered the option that maybe Ilphonic was the good guy in this whole thing, dude. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
The real hero.
Ilphonic.
All right. Now we get to shit on a game.
Forgot about Monstrum already.
We've had a couple bangers, but now we're going to have a dud. Monstrum 2. So Monstrum, the original Monstrum, was a single-player game. It was actually really good. If you guys haven't played Monstrum, you should check it out at some point, honestly. I don't know how it holds up, but it was a big hit at the time, and it was actually pretty tense, pretty atmospheric. Nice game.
Actually kind of similar to Friday the 13th with the multiple ways to escape.
Yes, actually. Yeah, true. Although it was, the difference is that Monstrum 2 is shit. So Monstrum 2 was a completely multiplayer game. There's no single player component, at least not that I know of, where one person played the monster and I believe 4 people played survivors. You had to run around different maps. I think the one that we played on originally was a ship, and you had to find different components to fix up an escape route, to fix up a helicopter or a submarine or something like that. I can't remember a whole lot about it. And we played it, Gary and I played it before it came out in the beta, the closed beta. And it was so jank. And we couldn't, we were just like, we were trying to be nice about it. But we were like, a few more months in the oven and, you know, I could see this being okay. And then the day after we streamed it in the closed beta, they released the game in full. And it was exactly like what we played. It was so jank. And now I don't think you can play the game anymore. I think they delisted it and
good.
I mean, you might still be able to play it. P2P, I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. But
I remember because it was like a month or two later, I was like, whatever happened to Monstrum 2? Has that come out yet? And you're like, that came out the day after we played it.
The day after we played it, yeah.
And I remember just laughing.
I couldn't believe it.
Disbelief that was a full release game at that point.
I was shocked because it was not good quality.
There were some cute ideas in there.
The hit detection in the game, first of all, was terrible. There were like graphical glitches all over the place. There were bugs, and the gameplay just wasn't that fun. Really, the only
because there were like stages, wasn't there? You had to like advance through the level.
Yes, yeah.
So like find the 4 power batteries or whatever, and then find this, and then you.
Yeah. Everyone started in a different area of the first section, and then you slowly work together to unlock the next section and the next section until you got to the escape routes.
Which is there's some cool ideas in it. It was just not ready for release.
No,
and I still to this day I don't understand why they released it. Like just delay.
Doug, did you play it at all?
I never did. No, I've heard you guys talk about it a lot. Like I've heard that story more than once about playing it and being like, well, you know, for a beta, it's off to a good start. Maybe they'll tune some stuff up and then they release it the next fucking day, which made me laugh every time. But no, unfortunately, I never got to experience Monstrum 2, so this is all on you two to decide if it's...
Oh, F tier.
F tier? Bottom of
F
F tier?
Yeah.
Below
straight F tier. Yeah, F tier,
Yeah.
yeah. The bottom of possible.
Yeah.
It's the Bobsy 3D of this tier.
It is, yeah.
And I said, actually, that's not fair. Bobsy 3D was a fine game.
Left 4 Dead. So this is going to include Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, which are basically the same game. I know Left 4 Dead purists are going to be like, no, they're not, actually. But for the intensive purposes of this, they're basically the same game. Now Left 4 Dead has a unique mode. We're not going to be talking about the single player mode, which is of course legendary, or the not just single player co-op as well. But we're going to be talking about the zombies, the undead versus survivors mode, the versus, which was really fun back in the day.
Yeah.
So we're rating completely the ASIM, which I think a lot of people probably skipped or like haven't really had a lot of experience. But I actually played it a lot. I actually thought it was really, really fun. Not iconic by any by any stretch of the imagination, but it was definitely a very early I mean, I don't know. We haven't done the homework on like when games came out and stuff like that, but Left 4 Dead came out like a long time ago, right? Like this game came out when I remember playing it on the Xbox. I played it on the Xbox 360.
15 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be like early 2000s.
So this might be like, I don't know when Evolve came out, but was this actually like the first ASIM, like mainstream ASIM game that came out?
Yeah, I think
probably. So. I can't think of anything predating Left 4 Dead.
So for that alone, like it's a trailblazer, and it was fun. Like it was fun to play. I enjoyed it. It was obviously wildly imbalanced, which is an ASIM staple.
Right.
But I mean, it was a lot of fun to be had. No, I don't think there's really any progression system. There was like achievements on 360. I remember for playing the ASIM mode. You had to get like different grabs with the smoker, and you had to like get so many people with the boomer and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. It was great. I'd probably, if I had to, I'm not putting it in an A tier by any stretch because everybody knows Left 4 Dead wasn't for the ASIM. It was like a tack on mode. When we're talking about Evil Dead, we're not going to rank the BR that they put in, right? It's kind of like, it's just like a side thing. Like, oh, this is a fun thing for you to do. So for a mini game, I would probably vote B.
That's what I would say too.
I'd also not argue if there was a compelling reason to bring it down to the C level.
I agree because like the single player or co-op, the campaign of Left 4 Dead is like the main draw, and if we were judging it on that, we would bump it higher. But for an asymmetrical horror tier list, we're just judging that mode, and it was fun for a little bit, but I could never play it for too long. It's, for one thing, Left 4 Dead is really loud. It's one of like the loudest games ever.
It's a very loud game.
People are always screaming or groaning, or there's like a horde sound.
Just the sound of bullets.
Just it's one of the loudest games ever. Gives me a headache after a while, so I could only play it for like an hour or two at a time. But it was fun, chaotic atmosphere for that time, and I would say B is a pretty fair spot for it.
I would put low B. I'd probably put it as like, I'd probably put it in C, like at the top of C personally.
Whoa.
But I'm happy for it to go in B. Just I wouldn't put it like at the top of B or anything. It's just because like I played it a little bit, but I never like fell in love with it.
Do you think you played it for more than 9 hours?
No, definitely not. Like I would say, yeah, I played that. I know,
okay, it was a joke, Gary. I was just making a call.
Hours you could throw away, Doug. Discount. You're right. I didn't even play it technically.
You don't have 100 hours? You didn't even play.
Let's do low B, and we'll stick other stuff in front of it in B, I'm sure.
Because I accept that it's also like it was one of the first.
Yeah,
like it's a pioneer.
Respect, but also even if we put it in like an F tier, it wouldn't be like disrespect on Left 4 Dead because like people came to it for the campaign, not for versus. But the versus was good.
Left 4 Dead is a great game. Fantastic.
Agreed.
Oh, speaking of great games, White Noise 2.
Oh, this is the one I get to like sit back now. I don't know shit about this game.
John, I feel like we get to save a lot of time on this one. You and I both played, right? Can you remember a single detail about White Noise 2, just from memory?
No. Not a single one. I know what the monster looks like, and I know that that's about it. Literally, like nothing other than that.
That's more than I can remember. So I think it's an easy F.
How many hours did you guys put in it?
I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was definitely less than 9. It was less than 9 for sure. Maybe I should set this one out with Gary. I don't know.
Maybe it could be S tier. We just don't know.
I think it's above Monstrum 2 though, because like
everything's above Monstrum 2.
Yeah.
I feel like because you guys played it enough to hate it, it's got to be better than Monstrum 2, right? Like John and I, we played it and we're like,
Yeah, I just don't remember it.
No.
All right. Cool. And this is the sequel, by the way, to White Noise 1, which is not on the list, but that's because it didn't have a player character as the killer in that one.
I think just on that point of like hating Monstrum 2, I don't hate the game. I think I hate the devs for having felt the audacity to release it in the state they did. That's from like, what the fuck were you guys thinking?
I'm not going to say I hate the devs, but I would say that I was a bit offended by the fact that they just released it and they were fine with doing that. I thought that was like not cool.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of hating the devs, Video Horror Society.
God.
VHS.
Do you want to lead the talk, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna honestly like unless somebody like stumbled on a Spine Chill this week. they probably are well aware of the love story between myself and VHS that ended so tragically.
I think you probably had the most hours in VHS.
Like of all people, or just in our group? Because definitely in our group.
Definitely in our group, yeah. But maybe like, I think you might have played it more than. There's probably some people out there that played it more than you.
Guarantee
like,
there
must
was
have
more
been
than,
one of the top.
I was definitely in the conversation, like in terms of like. I mean, there was some people. You got to remember that this game was so hyped and so excited. People were so excited. The cult following. They had like comp tournaments and shit. They had people that were like scrimming in this game. So yeah, there's people that have more hours than me for sure. But like I definitely did not have a small amount of hours. I had hundreds of hours in the game. And I loved it. And again, I'm not going to sit here and argue for anything, but I do think that this was the best ASIM game that's ever been made from a competitive game standpoint. Like in terms of it was really, really balanced. It was really, really like the devs, like it was a passion project and the passion showed. It was, I thought it was really fun. I know that again, you guys kind of approached it in a more casual sense and it really wasn't fun. And then they didn't really do anything to address the casual player being thrown into the wolves. And they killed their game off in so many ways. This is a game that was killed off by the developers not really having a clue. They had no influencer outreach program. They lost their only good community manager that I knew of very early on. It didn't really seem like they replaced them with anybody that kind of had their finger on the pulse of the ASIM community. There was a whole bunch of like drama between like people leaving DVD for VHS and then becoming very vindictive about it and very like condescending about it, which was a major turnoff. I mean, the devs fumbled getting keys to the right people. The devs fumbled security and ended up having to shut the game down for 3 months. They just fumbled. But at its core, at its very in the heart of VHS, fantastic game. It's a super well balanced, super fun game, super exciting. Like the playing teen, which was like another red flag that you were the teens. Like that's just really hard on content creators. But but the teen role was very like strategic and very action packed. You had all kinds of cool weapons you could use to like do a damage state for the monster. Monster experience took forever to become like even passable for a casual player, which is another one of the things that I think killed it. It was just really hard to do anything about teen teams that were well organized. But I think if another company had developed Video Horror Society, it would still be around. I think if they had been, and I think that we'll talk about last year later, but if somebody went the last year route and bought the IP from I can't remember the name of the devs.
Hellbent? Was it Hellbent?
Hellbent. Thank you. It was Hellbent.
Yeah.
They forget about me. I forget about them. Turnabout is fair play. But if somebody bought the license from Hellbent and started redeveloping it, I think this one actually would have a chance to hang on, unlike last year, because the core of the game was really, really good, and just really all what they needed was people. They needed I think it's a 2-part thing. They needed people that were more plugged into the player base in terms of like community management, influencer outreach, and I think they also needed to drastically make changes that would make it more new player and casual player friendly. If that's other game modes or if that's, I don't know what that would be because I'm not a game developer. But at the end of the day, it's a sad story because the game had so much potential and it wasn't destroyed by losing licenses. It was destroyed by the developers of the game, really not knowing what they were doing with like driving the ship. Right. So I'd argue for A, but that's like, for me, that's like, it's not nostalgia, but it's like, how do I, it's just like, I just really loved the game. I literally loved this game. I didn't just like it. I loved it. So I know that I'm like glossing over major issues like in every category to say that I feel like it's A. So I'm not going to argue if you guys don't see it as A, but I would argue it's an A tier because the actual core game was so good.
I was thinking it would go here at bottom of F. What do you think, Gary?
I mean, John, what are your thoughts about VHS? I'm intrigued.
So I think VHS is a tough one to assess because, I wasn't able to get as into it, obviously, as Doug did. I mostly stuck to like the casual experience, and I probably only put between 20 and 30 hours into it. So I can't really talk about like the intricacies of the mechanics or like how well tuned it was at the. What are you guys talking? Are you guys okay?
I'm just more than enough to make an assessment, John. Gary and I are just being ourselves. And
we're just having our moment.
So,
Oh,
we're fighting in our brains.
Yeah. We're just talking
Well,
shit.
but I didn't get to like the the high MMA gameplay of it
like
all.
the Beatles.
High MMA.
You sound like John Lennon.
No, that was my True Talent impersonation.
Oh right,
Gary.
yeah, of course.
Not the Beatles. Come on.
Just to make it clear.
Lol. Lol. But yeah, I can only speak to the casual aspect of it, but I'm just gonna take Doug's word for it that it was really fine-tuned and, you know, a really great game at the top level. I would still say though that even if it's like, let's say an A or a B tier game, like the developers were fucking F tier.
Yes.
And they should drag the rating down a little bit. I would argue like a tier, like they lose a tier for Hellbent and how bad they fucked it, because I'm not only talking about like how badly they marketed the game and with that weird key rollout, they killed all the hype for the game. They took the game offline, like all this stuff. Not just that, but the fact that, you know, as we just said, they didn't even seem to really consider the casual experience of the game. That is a major flaw. Major flaw. And that's one reason, possibly the main reason, why it flopped and it's no longer able to be played. Because that's a major component of every successful asymmetrical game, is that the casual experience isn't just like logging in, getting fucking stomped, and being like, holy shit, this sucks, and uninstalling it.
I mean, like, I will say, like, it wasn't a game for casuals, which is where, like, you know, when Doug was saying about the team players, that's a weird choice for a game which isn't designed for casuals. Because I would basically agree with both of you near enough entirely. I think Hellbent really screwed that, but I think this is one of the best designed games. Like, I didn't love VHS by any means. Like, I think it was a bit too competitive for me, but I don't know, I put like a solid 60 plus hours into it. But I appreciate, like, this is where, like, even though I didn't love the game, I still appreciate its design and saw where it thrived. Although I didn't like Friday the 13th, like, with VHS, I could see where it was, like, really well designed. So, like, for me, it's slap bang in the middle between Friday the 13th and Resistance. Like, I think it's one of the best designed games. I had a lot of fun playing it at times. But I do completely agree that Hellbent completely screwed it. They gave codes to some of the most negative DBD people. Like, basically, the really loud crew about VHS got codes, and they were all, you know, pretty obnoxious about it all. I'm never playing DBD again.
Right.
Give them 6 months, they came back to DBD.
Well, they're all playing DBD now, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, one of them isn't.
Ooh.
Ooh. But I think, yeah, as you say, Hellbent really screwed it up. And, like, I don't like doing this because I do think it's an A tier game. But I think we put it in B just because Hellbent.
You'd be surprised to know that I agree with you completely, because here's the thing. We've rated Resistance and Friday the 13th on potential, and VHS fucking never had any potential with Hellbent at the helm, no matter what.
Yeah,
it was never going to succeed, no matter what.
VHS was better than the devs.
Absolutely. The game itself.
I agree.
If they would have had somebody else manage and they had just made the game, it would have went off.
If they had Ilphonic running it.
Oh, blessed Ilphonic. We love them right now.
Now.
Predator Hunting Grounds isn't on this list, is it?
You're right, it's not.
Should be. That's
okay. We'll put it in Doug tier.
Aww. my first present. An honorary Doug tier.
I like that we brought D tier back and nothing's gone in it.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
So should we put it maybe above Left 4 Dead because
top of B? I don't think I'll see anything because, again, I think we all agree it should be A tier, and the devs made that impossible.
Yeah,
so it's probably going to be the king of B tier.
For me, it's second only to Resistance, and I can imagine, Doug, like, you didn't play Resistance, but it'd probably be ahead of Resistance. Like, I think it's like the creme de la creme of, like, what ASIM games should try to be.
Yep. Agreed.
If you're going to compete with DBD, you need to innovate. And I would say Resistance and Video Horror Society did innovate the genre and create something very fun and competitive. Because DBD is the casual game. They created something that could draw in the competitive people.
Mm-hmm.
Alas, Hellbent was shit.
So, bottom of F?
No, that would be a personal vendetta. The game was so fantastic.
Oh, speaking of personal vendettas.
Speaking of personal vendettas.
Gary and I have been yelling a lot. Maybe it's time for John to start yelling a little bit.
Yeah.
Last year, the Nightmare. Nightmare's right. So last year started as a Discord exclusive game, which was an interesting experiment.
So dumb.
Interesting experiment. Discord had a game store for a while. They don't anymore. But this was only available on Discord for a while. And then they released it on Steam. And then they shut the game down. And then another developer bought the game and republished it and hasn't done anything with it. So that's pretty much, you're caught up on last year lore. It has a bunch of like high schoolers. One of the maps of high school. There's like these like killers, whatever. It's just like really standard stuff. Yeah, there's one. It's very Left 4 Dead inspired, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like when a survivor goes down, they can be found in like a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of go res them.
It's
because you need bodies to get stuff done.
Yeah. And like
you have like objectives a bit like Left 4 Dead actually of trying to progress through the level, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's structured very much like a Left 4 Dead campaign around of last year. And one of the killers is like straight up the smoker from Left 4 Dead. I mean, there's a lot of parallels there. It was always more similar to that game than it was like Dead by Daylight or anything like that. However, the game fucking sucks. And not only does it suck, and it died because it sucked, but it still sucks now because they've re-released it and haven't done anything with it.
Did you play it since it got re-released?
No.
Me and Doug did. That was my first experience with last year.
Yeah.
I didn't play it when it first came out.
Yeah, and again, I guess maybe just got to go ahead and keep on eating the crow here. Like Gary and I were playing it together when it re-released, and I was like, "Oh my god,
I'm going to enjoy this."
I was like, "Last year is back. This is so good." And we played a few games, and Gary's like, "This is garbage." And I was like, "No."
I played three games, and I was like, "I'm done. This game's shit."
I was like, "No, you just got to give it more time." Then I played 3 more games, and I'm like, "You're right. It's trash. The game sucks." Yeah, it's just. I think that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it was a colossal failure, like you said, at every level. I mean, there was just the Discord release was terrible, then the re-release on Steam was terrible, and then game balance was terrible. They listened to a bunch of the streamers who played Killer and continued. The game was like nearly impossible to win with an organized 5-stack, and then they started buffing Killer for some reason. So then it just casual player base completely left.
Yeah.
Every time they revived it, they really didn't do a lot to change the game balance. And I don't know, can we even argue that at its core, it has potential to be a good game? Like, I don't even know. I don't actually know.
I can talk to that. I don't think it had any promise. I didn't like the design. I felt like maybe it's just a balance thing, but when we tried to play it, I didn't really see how you win either. Like, it wasn't satisfying to like make progress in it. It was mostly just frustrating because the way the monster's designed is to just basically annoy the shit out of you and just kill you off occasionally. So like playing the survivor role sucked.
Yep. Well, one thing, and this is like a casual player observation, but one thing I couldn't believe was in the game were the insta kills. And the fact that you had to have one survivor constantly doing the little like beep, 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 scanning for the little insta kill traps. Otherwise, you could just like walk into a room and get insta killed by the killer. Oh, now you're in a closet halfway across the map. Have fun sitting there for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
you didn't even do anything. You didn't do anything wrong, but you just died. And I hated that about it.
I think what I found the most fascinating, because I remember talking to you about this and be like, what's different from when we last played it? Because I remember we did the 3 matches, I got fed up, and then I discussed it with you whilst you were playing your next 3 to 7 matches or whatever you played. And you just started to go, over time, you're like, nothing's different. It's the same game.
Yeah, that is really
even with the imbalance of the killer being too strong was the same.
So
F.
It's the only thing that's making me go, is it worse than Monstrum 2? I would say yes, because I would say 2 developers fucked it.
True.
Would you say it's? I don't know if it's worse than Monstrum. Well, it's like maybe it's worse than Monstrum 2 because like Monstrum 2 was like an incomplete game. It was jank. There was lots of glitches and bugs.
Oh, that's also a minus point to it, though. The fact they released an incomplete game.
No, but like last year is worse because it was a more polished game that had no excuse being as bad as it was.
I remember, I will say, last year had a really good tutorial. It was really long, but it taught you everything, and it was really well put together. But then the main game just sucked. So well done, tutorial person, whoever you did. You did a great job.
I remember you were so excited about the tutorial. You're like, oh my god, maybe they've done it. And then you're like, nope.
Yeah, because I was like, oh my god, this was great.
You know, I think it goes above Monstrum 2. I think it even goes above White Noise 2. But I don't think it goes above Identity V. That's where I would put it.
That's fine. It did have a good tutorial, so I'm happy to put it there.
Honestly, it's going to be hard to beat Monstrum 2.
Well, the Monstrum 2 had an okay tutorial, if I remember.
No, it did not. I mean, I maybe you thought it was. I disagree.
I think I got through it really quickly, and everyone else struggled. So maybe it was just like maybe I just skipped a part.
I remember
you were just that much better, Gary.
Maybe I think I picked one creature that was. I think you guys all picked something different, which had like a horrible tutorial, and I think I picked the basic bitch one that was just like smash a wall, punch thing.
Yeah, it's because it had like a simple tutorial and like a more in detail tutorial or something like that.
And I think I just tried to skip through it, so I didn't have a bad time. But you guys were like cared.
Yeah, well, and
good for you.
It like took longer, and it was like, I don't know. I just remember not liking the tutorial experience. I remember in the tutorial experience having like a horrible bug where I got stuck or something like that, and I was just like, we're not off to a good start. And I was trying to.
I think you had to do the tutorial again, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to restart the tutorial, and then we had to wait even longer. It took us forever to actually get into a game.
Yeah, you're right. Monstrum 2 at the bottom.
We played that with Dom, which is weird to look back on.
Did we? Did we really?
Yeah, Dom played with us. Yeah, back then.
And he's never played an ASIM since.
Yeah. It was very annoying in that game. But when is he not annoying? Okay. Propnight. Love Dom. Propnight. So Propnight is a true party game. Probably the most party game out of all of these, I would argue.
Bonking and farting. What more do you want?
You can use the fart emote in this game. Your character will just fart on command anytime you want them to, unless you're in a chair. They removed that. But Propnight is similar to, it's like if Prop Hunt, the Gmod mode, met Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
You work on generators with your fellow survivors, but you can hide by turning into props or any item in the environment. You can turn into a little book, you can turn into a little candle, you can turn into like a pumpkin, you can turn into anything you want. A bottle of wine, a hay bale,
a bottle of water.
A bottle of water. And you can hide from the killer that way. Now, the killer is searching and just trying to kill everybody. They put people on chairs, which is like being put on hook in DBD. You have 3 phases of that. You can get unchaired. And there's lives that you can get. Yeah, the hypno chairs. You can die on chair. You can die on first chair, just like dying on first hook. So it's very similar to DBD in those senses. Like you do 5 generators, you open the exit, you leave. But it's got that party game element of you can turn into props, you can run around as a rubber chicken, you can run around as a grand piano.
And then you'd bonk it. You'd bonk the killer, and they'd get. And then
you can stun the killer. Yeah, instead of pallet stuns like in DBD, you can just jump on the killer's head.
And you could save people whilst they were being carried.
Yeah,
by bonking them. Oh, it's so frustrating as a killer.
Yeah, so that's Propnight.
As another plus to it, like its art style, kind of similar to Video Horror Society, where it's quite exaggerated, like a cartoony style. But it worked better because Propnight was a party game, whereas VHS, there was a bit of a didn't quite match up with the play style of that game.
VHS really wanted to be Fortnite so bad, but their game wasn't fun enough when you weren't trying super hard.
Oh,
right?
Actually, just going back to VHS, it just popped into my head. It does belong in B. The UI was shit. One of the worst UIs I've ever seen. It was a complete mess.
Yeah, I'm not think anybody's gonna argue with you there.
Anyway, Propnight, much better UI.
Yeah, Propnight, I think we've talked about it for it's been carrying the podcast for certain stretches of it.
Hashtag thank God for Propnight.
Yeah, they've cooled off a lot in terms of updates and whatnot. They haven't had an update since May, so I don't know, but there's still, like I said, there's still 500 people playing their game, so it's got longevity there. Yeah, I think it was 550 when I looked earlier. So that's good. So I'd probably argue for B tier under VHS. Personally,
I could do that. I think Propnight. Oh,
No, you can go, John. Go with your opinion.
I think Propnight deserves credit for like perfecting the party game. A lot of these other games like Resident Evil Resistance, VHS, they're like competitive, very good competitive games, well-designed competitive games. I think Propnight deserves credit for making a well-designed party game, which it's really hard to do. A lot of these games haven't even attempted it. They all have some kind of like competitive element or whatever, but Propnight was just like, we're going to go full fun with this. And so I'd like to put them in mid-B tier. I think that's a good spot for them.
I would like to put it at the top of B.
Oh, over VHS.
Because I will give credit. If we take points away from devs, we should give them credit when credit is due. And they reinvented Propnight not once but twice to reinvigorate it and adapt it to make it better. And they succeeded. Like, I think with the second iteration, when they recreated it a second time,
Propnight is one of the only examples of a second wind that we've ever seen. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
And they listened to their player base, and they made small adjustments quite frequently. Like, since the kitchen level that was a disaster, they seem to have disappeared. But like outside of that, it was all bangers. Everything was good.
Yeah.
All the monsters, the killers, they're all really cool and interesting. When they rebranded it again a second time, they made everything really sleek and polished and nice. It felt, for me, it's just better than VHS in this situation, just because we're taking points away from Hellbent. I want to give points to who are the devs of Propnight?
Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah, I want to give them some pops. I want to give them some props.
Ah, very good.
Man, I was almost with you, and you made that terrible fucking joke. No, okay. So what I'm stuck with now is my love for VHS, the game.
Mm-hmm.
And my hatred for Hellbent the devs. Like,
do I care
again more about loving the game or sticking it to Hellbent?
For me, if it wasn't for Hellbent, the game VHS would be just below Resistance. Yeah. I think it's one of the best designed.
Yeah, I think we all agreed on that when we talked about it too. Yeah, so, yeah. Honestly, we give some points to Propnight for longevity, and again, I think that's what you guys both touched on is really can't be overstated. Like, they were able to relaunch their game and have it not. I mean, last year, right? They relaunched it as garbage and just died immediately. And Propnight actually pulled it off. They relaunched it and blew up after. So
yeah. Also, Propnight came out around the same time as VHS, right?
Yeah,
it did. Yes.
So one's got 500 players and one's dead. So
I give them minus points for basically being like a DVD mod that makes it an actual party game, but then I give them plus points for being able to continue to lean into that and innovate on that model and continue to be a relevant game years after it launched. And Hellbent didn't ever touch Propnight, so they can be higher on the list. That's cool.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Secret Neighbor next. Now, Secret Neighbor.
I get another break because I have no idea.
I don't think it'll take long.
Secret Neighbor Fire. No. Secret Neighbor is the Hello Neighbor multiplayer game, and this is another party game. One person plays as the neighbor, and the other ones play as kids. However, the round starts with all 5 players playing as kids, so the neighbor's in disguise as the round begins. The kids are looking for, they're running around the neighbor's house, trying to collect stuff, trying to escape. And the neighbor's trying to put a bag over their heads and kidnap them. Secret Neighbor, honestly, I went into my first session of Secret Neighbor being like, oh God, because like I hated Hello Neighbor, the single player game. I thought it was shit. And so I was like, this is going to be bad too. But I actually had a lot of fun playing it. Now, I'm not going to advocate that we put it in a high tier or anything. I think it's a very average game, but it was like a pleasant surprise. And I don't want to put it in F tier is what I'm saying.
Okay. I recently did and this recently was like earlier this year, maybe late last year. I did a little challenge where I was trying to win a game as a killer in every ASIM that's still being played. And I played Secret Neighbor. And with Secret Neighbor, you don't get to choose to play killer. You have to get killer random. So it took me a long time to get a chance to play as the Secret Neighbor. So I got to actually put a chunk of hours into it recently. And I would just give it a resounding and overwhelming meh. It's fine. You know, it's not aggressively bad. It's very much like a hide and seek. Like the kids have to try and find all the keys to get deeper and deeper and deeper into the basement so they can open the door and escape or whatever. And then you have to like. And I was playing with like a lot. There's a lot of it has crossplay, and there's a lot of like Xbox kids yelling in their mics that I was playing with and stuff. It's like, how console gamers are. They never stop playing a fucking game once they start playing it. So
right,
these guys were like secret neighbor juicers, like squatted up with the boys, drinking Capri Suns and dunking on killers, right? But
yeah,
like overall, like it's John. I'll defer it to you whether you want to put it in C or D tier. I mean, it qualifies as a Doug tier game. I have played it pretty extensively. I have like a reasonable amount of hours in the game. Let me look.
I would say
I've got like 8.2 hours, so just under the 9.7 cutoff for Gary to,
Right. I guess no one's replayed this game.
I would be comfortable putting it in Doug tier. I just don't want to put it in F tier because I think it's just got kind of like a fun factor to it, and I like how casual and party game-esque it is. So I think Doug is fine.
I didn't hate it.
It's not. I don't feel like it's hateable. Like it's just like you said. It's kind of meh. Like I had some fun playing it, but I didn't have enough fun that I'm like, it's got to go higher. I'm not invested in it. I'm just kind of like, it's whatever. I don't have any strong opinions on it either way. So
yeah, I would, as my little input would be, none of you have ever said we should play some Secret Neighbor. So I think D tier sounds like you never complained about Secret Neighbor, and you never said about playing it. So D tier feels right.
I think we have brought it up, but in jest.
Yeah, I think there was a running gag. There was like a running gag for a while that it was your favorite ASIM, John. I think back in the early days of Spine Chill. So
I do remember that. Yeah.
And then Ghostbusters came in and ruined that for him. So
next, Evil Dead, the recently deceased Evil Dead. So Evil Dead, I think, is probably the game on this list most similar to Resident Evil Resistance, in which one character plays as the demon, which is more of a mastermind type character where you've got kind of a third-person view of things, and you can slap enemies down to slow down the survivors. And it's also very combat-focused, just like Resident Evil Resistance, where the survivor team has to work together, and they have to combat different enemies that you put in their way. Now, in the end, Evil Dead had more of a defeat the demon aspect to it, as opposed to Resistance, which was just escape. But Evil Dead had a very dedicated player base, which included both of you guys, and I played much less of it than either of you. So I'll defer to your judgment on this.
I'll jump in now because I know Doug's going to have the more. Basically, he's played all these Dead games, more than all of us. But I liked Evil Dead. I didn't really enjoy playing the survivor role as much. I did put a fair amount of time into it, but I mostly only enjoyed playing it with, you, Doug, or Sino. Generally, I preferred the demon role, so I played the necromancer quite a lot. I didn't really glue with any of the other demons. And I think that was one of the game's weaknesses, was it didn't have a good enough... Its content was slow to come out, and demons kind of got neglected for the first year, which I think a lot of people that prefer playing Demon probably moved on to go play something else. The game was really... It could be really fun, but it could be really repetitive at times. Because as playing as the survivor, a lot of the time you'd be hacking and slashing. And when the demon was on it and just spawning lots of things, it would just kind of get a bit messy at times. But I kind of liked that too. It was you could switch your brain off and just enjoy it.
I think that was part of the appeal, honestly.
Yeah, it was quite loud sometimes. If you turn it down, it was all right. Where you just switch your brain off, just chill out with the lads, hack and slash some zombies, hope that your random doesn't drive the car because that's always a nightmare.
They drive it straight into a tree every time.
Why don't they just use the roads?
They don't use
perfectly good roads.
I know.
Great map system in the game. Great mini map.
Yeah, everyone just ignored it and just the thing's in that direction, so I'll just drive in that direction. Use the roads.
Grand Theft Auto ruined these kids, Gary.
There's roads in that game. But yeah, Evil Dead, I think it was a really strong game for what it was. I think the grind was a bit, especially when they added to it. I think the grind was probably its greatest weakness. Because the game was good.
You think they went heavy-handed on the grind, or?
Yeah, I think they went a bit heavy on it. And it wasn't rewarding to win at a certain point. It didn't feel like I was gaining anything.
I think the biggest problem with the grind is that they made it so you got massive buffs in game if you got to Prestige 5, but that took hundreds of hours to get one character to Prestige 5. So it's it was from a competitive standpoint, you kind of needed to grind prestige, but it was such a time sink to do it that most casual people would like never even reach it. I mean, Sinnoh and I played that game a fuck ton. And I think the highest we either got was prestige 2 on any character. On any one single character in the game, we got prestige 2. So it was like a massive time sink. I agree with that.
I got prestige 1 on the Necromancer. And I was like, I can't imagine putting more time into this thing. I play that's basically most of my hours are in the Necromancer.
Yeah. I think that I probably have a more positive perspective. I think that it's one of the best ASIM games that's come out in terms of the actual game design. And like, I didn't mind. I didn't think it felt repetitive because again, like there was always like the demons felt really unique. Facing each demon felt like a unique experience, which is like something that I think is important. Similar to DVD, like, you know, you play a trapper different than you play against a nurse, for instance. I think that there was a lot of that kind of element. I thought it was really cool. They had like a class-based survivor system. So you had like a tank, a healer. That was something that like, I feel like is kind of missing in ASIM, and it would be really cool to see another better developer take that concept and really run with it, right?
Do you remember we did that in DVD? And we played like the assassin and the tank. And
that's fun. We actually did pretty well.
Yeah, we played well, and people still talk about that stream in my community. Like people will still bring it up. They're like, "Who eats the tank?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" I would love to. But again, I don't know, man. I mean, I would argue it's top of B tier. Or even bottom of A tier. But again, we always have to use the Doug asterisk, the like I over invest and over appreciate these games. So I'm not going to argue if you guys aren't feeling that way. I do think that the core game was incredible. I think that, like John touched on, the very slow content rollout was an issue. Which again, when you're a single license and it's not, Evil Dead is not the kind of license where they're going to have mountains of content to release, right? Like there's only so many characters that would really track as a demon in the game, and they blew a lot of them out in the opener, right?
Yeah.
And so if they didn't have the sort of TCM like open license where they can develop original stuff, it was gonna be hard for them to keep up with content. Just being an Evil Dead game, right?
I think there's another thing that sort of hurt it was, I know not everyone enjoyed watching the demon roll because it was quite motion sick inducing.
Yeah. I got a lot of complaints. Yeah,
which hurt it because that as someone who likes playing it, I couldn't stream it, which was a shame. There was no settings to like fix that motion sickness issue.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
For an overall game perspective, I thought the game was phenomenal. The devs, while they were very slow to do anything, they did continue to balance the game right up until they shut it down. I don't know. I think it's got a strong case for bottom of A personally. But I'm not going to fight to keep it there. But I would argue that it's better than the games that we have on B right now, in terms of like it's the top of B as we're looking at it right now.
I mean, I'm fine with putting it ahead of Propnight. I think high B would be where I would personally put it, but I also have the least experience with the game. I just feel like the survivor gameplay wasn't compelling enough for me to put it in A.
The problem is, putting it above VHS feels weird, but then I have to remember we're minusing points because Hellbent was shit.
Yeah, we're not saying it's a better game than VHS. We're saying the overall package is better than VHS.
Okay, so in terms of overall package, it was better. It was better package than Propnight. I think I've got more hours in Evil Dead than I have Propnight, so that's a sign because I've got quite a lot in Propnight. I'd top a B. I'm happy with that.
Okay. Yeah,
and I think that works happier in my head for Friday the 13th as well. Like, I don't think I'd put it like close to Friday the 13th, even though like I was fighting for it to be in B. This feels like a better gap now.
All right, cool. Everybody's happy.
Not the DVD player base.
DVD's like, I can't believe they put it in S tier. C tier at best.
I can't wait. I hope we get those comments.
Depth.
Yeah.
So depth is a very old game. I think this predates DVD. Actually, I can't remember.
It might
at
least. It's very old.
It definitely predates DVD. Yeah. I played it before I played DVD.
Like I forgot it existed till we opened this list, and I was like, depth.
I haven't thought about Depth in a long time, but Depth was actually a really fun game where it was sharks versus divers, right? I'm trying to remember. It's been so long, but the sharks had different abilities, and it was actually really fun. You would go around and you would bite divers.
Yeah. And they like try to kill you with their guns, bro. It came out in November 2014.
I said 2014. Let's go.
That's like 9 years old. 9 years old, this game.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, can you even still play it? I haven't checked up on Depth.
I think I played it a few years ago.
I played it in 2018 for the last time, but I'm pretty sure they delisted it. I think it's done now. I remember seeing something about it being done, but let me look on Steam charts.
I mean, 9 years, that makes sense.
I can't see it in my list, but I did own it.
Yeah, I've still got it.
Still your alt account.
Maybe playing with someone
else. There's 16 people playing right now, so apparently it's not delisted. I was wrong.
That's crazy. That's
hang on, there it is.
9 years later, there's 16 people playing it. Wow.
God,
that's a huge sign.
That game fucking ruled, man. Like, I want to talk for a minute. Just let me talk for a minute.
Go ahead.
You guys put it wherever you want. But I love that game. And I'm giving it gets, shut up, Gary. It gets bonus points. It gets bonus points for being a shark game. And I love sharks in general, like shark movies, shark shows, shark games. I played what was that? Man-Eater?
Oh, Man-Eater.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't play single player games, and I fucking played Man-Eater. I love sharks, man. So again, I'm realized that like I'm copium right now because it's a shark game, but it genuinely was a very fun game. It had, like you said, like different sharks had like different powers. So like you had ones that were better in like open water and ones that were better if they were going to be like in enclosed spaces and you're going to shake them a bunch and you could do damage, like AoE damage.
Oh, shaking them was so fun.
Yeah. It was just such a cool concept. And it's a shame that it had great skins. They had like a skin system that was really cool, and you could like trick out your sharks and trick out your divers, and then like you had to go get the treasure and then like get out. It was, and it had like thrilling moments where you're like you had the treasure and you're getting ready to go up to the cage, and like it's like that last second moment where like the sharks had a chance to get you on your way to the cage. Like it was just
that's right.
I just wish, again, we said this a lot about ASIM games, but I just wish that it would have hung on. For long enough to keep a player base, because that game I would have probably.
I wonder if it was before its time.
I think it was.
It was.
Like,
it definitely was.
If it had come out a few years later, it probably would have picked up a bit more steam.
I agree. I agree.
Can I say where I would roughly put it? And I was just curious to see where you guys would agree or not. Yeah. I would put it above Left 4 Dead's.
I would put it in B tier for sure.
I thought for a fact I was going to have to eat it being in C tier, but I'm 100% down. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because
I'm a Depth
I think
fan.
Depth and B.
I thought it was a good game. I didn't put that many hours into it, but
same.
Like I enjoyed my experience with it, and I remember the game. So
it was like this was during like the pre-DVD party game era where you didn't usually put a ton of hours into these. You would just like your friends would be like, "You want to play a couple rounds of Depth?" And then you'd play a couple rounds of I don't know, Gang Beasts, or you play a couple rounds of Gmod, play a couple rounds of whatever. So.
And that's when I used to play this. Was I was playing Gmod with an old friend of ours, John?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Nice. Well, yeah, Depth. I mean, I had a great time playing it. Like, just Doug, you talking about it brought back memories where I was like, oh yeah, you had to get treasure as the divers because I was trying to remember the objective, and then shaking them as the sharks. Some sharks were better at shaking them, like holding on to them because as divers you'd be like, let me go. It was a fun little moment there. Oh no shit moment.
Game was
but
sick.
B tier for sure. I like that game.
Sick.
I want to play it now.
I know, me too. I was thinking the same thing, man.
We should play Depth. Home Sweet Home Survive.
Yeah.
So Home Sweet Home Survive is the multiplayer.
That's the sound.
The multiplayer spin-off of the celebrated single-player indie horror series Home Sweet Home, which has 2 episodes. Although I would argue the first one is really the only one that I would recommend playing. Survive is their take on like a Super Smash Bros. Style multiplayer spinoff of their Home Sweet Home universe. And it started out as one person plays the killer, there's 4 survivors, but now they've relaunched the game recently this year with a new mode where...
It's Home Sweet Home Online now as well.
It's Home Sweet Home Online, right. But the new mode, which coexists with the old traditional 1v4 mode, where it's 4v4 and all 4 of the survivors have a chance to gain enough resources to turn into the killer and attack the opposing team.
Well, that's the thing where I don't think they do coexist, because the relaunch puts the new mode above the old mode. So I feel like this was them replacing. I think they're moving towards like that 4v4 mode being the primary mode.
Right. Well, I just meant that you can play both.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm not a big fan of this game. You know, I think it's kind of the opposite of Propnight in a lot of ways, where Propnight came out, lukewarm reception, it kind of started dying out. They relaunched it. It was met with really bad reception, and then they relaunched it again, and it soared to, you know, like we were talking about in a previous episode, like 1,000 concurrent players at one point. Home Sweet Home Online is kind of the opposite, where they released the game, kind of a lukewarm reception outside of Asia, and then they took it down and they relaunched it, and I mean, it's like worse now. It did not do any favors for the game. In fact, I think it really hurt the game to have it on offline for so long and to rebrand it for no reason.
Well, they had like a weird issue where like it was about to launch and then it came like another month later.
Yes.
Yeah, it was back in June, dude. Okay, so John, you're being a lot more polite than I would. This game fucking blows, and it's blowed every time. Like the original foundation was like, ooh, a break from DBD. This is kind of cool. We all had to pretend like it was going to be better later to enjoy it, but we all played it like when it first came out, the 4v1, and then very quickly the game imbalances and like slow updates, and people were just like, nah, we're not interested. And then it continued to be pretty well played in like the Asian servers. And so then pretty much like they took down the NA servers at one point. So like you couldn't even play on NA servers anymore. And then I remember they took it offline and they're going to launch Home Sweet Home Online. And one of the big selling points for me was that they were bringing it back with NA servers. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be able to play the game again. And that just wasn't real. They just didn't do that. They did. But yeah, they did, to the sense that like you can go into your game settings and switch your servers to the US. They didn't tell anybody that. Nobody knew that. Nobody cared about that. And then the game launched dead in the water. Also, they pretend like their bots aren't bots. Gary is going to call this out, I'm assuming. But like, Gary was watching me play one day and he's like, you were playing against bots. And I was like, no, they have ping. And he's like, no, they're lying to you. Those are bots. I can tell by the way they're moving. And like, I think you were there too, John. We were all watching it. And it was like very much bot behavior. So, because
I remember you were like, no, these are definitely real players. And I was just like, no, they're not.
I just said that because there was literally ping and it was like changing.
I could see them following like their nav mesh path. I was like, these are not real people.
They hid their bots behind ping that changes. Like they were like, they were so dedicated to pretending. Yeah, it was very clever.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be cleverly lied to by my ASIM developers. So I'm going to give this one, in my personal vote, this is the bottom of F tier, but I never played Monstrum. So I can't argue to it being worse than Monstrum, but there just hasn't been a moment during this game's lifespan where it was anything more than potential.
I'm going to say, like, it does have a good amount of cosmetics in it, and the monsters and stuff that you can play as are really cool, and there's some interesting ideas in there. And I have enjoyed the game at times.
I do like the killer designs that they have. I think there's some interesting powers in there, and they have a wide variety of characters. Honestly, Home Sweet Home Online probably has a bigger cast than any game on here, except maybe
it might have more than DBD. It has a lot.
Obviously, DBD has more, but I think it might have more than any other one, though. I'm not sure. So I think it's pretty well developed in that sense for as in terms of like quantity of content, which is something that a lot of other ASIM games struggle with.
And obviously, it's quite big in Asia. Like the game has a fan base, and we are a Western audience that maybe doesn't quite click with it in the same way.
Yeah, it's being like carried by that. That's why it has so much content. Because they continue to develop it for the Asian player base, which is like great for them. But
one thing that the game has consistently struggled with too is like hit detection, which sucks for us because the ping for us has always been terrible. It's always been like 300 plus, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like we, to a certain extent, haven't really even gotten to play it properly ever. You know, just from that perspective.
But having said our defense of the game, I will kind of agree that the game doesn't feel it, and it may be just because of ping and stuff, but it never has felt polished.
No.
And
again, I'd argue that the fun we've had playing it is because we were playing with each other, and like it was like we were just
that is a
boys,
part
right?
that I was thinking. Like I was thinking, like, when was the most fun I had playing this game? It might have been, John, when we played it with, did we play it with Gab?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
like that was like a really fun time. Yeah, and then I think we four stacked it. We played Sinnoh before, where us four like stacked up against, and like that was a lot of fun. And I think it may be that element of, you know, games are always more fun with your friends. And then one thing that I can't forgive it for is the relaunch.
Yes.
The 4v1, which we'll focus on because that's the ASIM part, is exactly the same as it was 6 months prior before they shut
last
it down.
Yeared it. Yeah, they last yeared it, right?
And like, the fact that it came out, I think the only difference was Sprint was back.
Oh yeah, they
like,
brought back
your stamina was
stamina
back.
system,
and that was the only real difference that was clear. So, although I want to put it in like maybe C tier because it's got a fan base and it's got players and it does update, I kind of can't really force myself to not want to put it in F tier because it is shit. I'm never going to play it again.
Yeah, one thing that I'll always remember, I just remembered this. I'll always remember about this game, and this was the moment where I was like, right, I'm done, is I was playing Killer after it released. Like, it wasn't right after release, it was like a couple weeks after when it had been established a little bit.
I know what this is, yeah.
I was playing Killer, and I was getting frustrated because like every round I was just getting stun locked. It's like by 4 stacks of like these dweebs who had played hundreds of hours. They would come up, they'd whack me with the sword, I'd get stunned, and then another one would come up, splash me with the holy water, blind me. Another one would come up, you know, blind me with the camera for like 10 seconds, and then I get stunned again by the sword. I was like, I can't do anything. This sucks. They're just farming me for points. And it got to the point where I queued up and I got this one survivor in front of me on the hospital map, and they were just standing still. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. I'll just get a free down here. So I run up. I'm the box cutter girl. I go to swing. And then at the last second, the character, the survivor character, moved forward. And they stood still again. And I was like, okay, that was weird. And so I tried to hit them again. And they kept doing it. And I literally could not hit them. I would walk right up to them. I'd try to juke them out. I'd be like, when am I going to hit you? I don't know. And I'd press M1 and they'd scoot forward again. And basically they were taking advantage of the ping, I'm guessing, and the animation, the swing animation and the hit detection, to where I could never hit them. And I was like, this fucking sucks. This shouldn't be possible. I can't believe this is in the game. And I think I closed the game out. And I didn't play it again. I didn't touch it again for a long time.
The survivor maids in that game were fucking demons, man. They would like abuse the iframes getting into the like pots you could get into and like teleport. Yes. They would abuse those constantly.
The iframes from that were
the vaults. There was just
enraging.
And again, we're already, like you said, we're always playing with like 250, 300 pings. So like it's already hard enough. And we're not even getting, you know, land like hits. And then they got all those. Oh yeah. There's just, I just think it's like outside of playing with friends, I struggle to say one good thing about it.
I would like to put it at the top of F.
I'm fine with that. Is that okay with you, Doug?
Oh, absolutely.
Top of F.
I mean, I was only arguing, you know, bottom of F because I just have such a sour taste from the whole package. But
well, to be honest, like I don't blame you. There's not really much delicious about it.
I guess if you look underneath it, outside of, you know, Identity V, which we've all just like silently agreed to hate to piss off all the people that love it so much, it's got more potential than anybody in F right now. Last year is not coming back. White Noise isn't coming back. Monstrum's not coming back. Home Sweet Home's still developing. Like there could be a corner turned at some point. You never know. So,
but I think that corner turn's going to be, we're dropping the ASIM part. It's just a 4v4.
Yeah,
possibly. Oh well, who cares? We'll never touch it again. It's like our lives don't change at all. Midnight Ghost Hunt. Oh. Dude, this part of the tier list is so depressing.
Well, this is going to be fun for me and Doug. We have
so much to say. Man.
Yeah, so much to say before we put it in F tier.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Gary, has there ever been a game I mean, and again, wait, are you saying no? Are you going to argue?
I do not want to put it in F tier.
What?
Shall I go first?
Don't make us fight with you over Midnight Ghost Hunt.
No, the only thing, because I know where we're going to go with this, but it was shit because of the players, not because of the game.
Well, the game was designed for the players to be able to do the things that they did, though, Gary. You can't just say it was the players. You can't.
I'm not saying it's a good game, but I'm not gonna. We were
so excited about it for like a week, and then it became the worst game I've ever played. Like overnight, it was just
fucking awful.
But it was so much fun for that first week that I had so much joy in my heart playing it. That I can't be like, because Home Sweet Home, I never enjoyed it as much as.
True. I never felt joy playing Home Sweet Home. I felt potential. I wanted to love it. It was like
Midnight Ghost Hunt. I'm going to fight for Doug tier so much.
All right. You know what? Now that you mention it, now that you talk about it that way, one of the memories that stands out to me was when we went to that ship map and we were all cannons, and we set a trap for the ghost hunters. And they fell down a hole, and then we all just fired at the same time, and we killed one of them. And that was like one of my favorite memories playing that game.
You know what?
Like it was so
the game was ridiculous. We killing the ghost hunters was so funny every time. Like beating them to death was a fridge. The suit of armor, like hiding behind.
Yeah.
Like, you'd all sit in a little room and you'd wait someone to come in and you'd have a trap that closes the door behind them and then you would just brutalize them.
Yeah, there'd be like a poison cloud. They'd just be like, they'd be bludgeoned with the fridge.
There was the church level where there was that nice hole where someone always dropped down. I remember us all sitting there as gargoyles and boxes and stuff. And as soon as someone came down, we just went, doo-dum, and just destroyed them.
Yes,
and it was just, we just set these traps. It was so much fun.
Yeah, you know what? Now you mention it, I don't think I can put an F tier either because there were, for a precious few days, there were treasured memories like that.
It was 1 week. For 1 week, it was one of the most fun games I'd ever played.
True. And I guess, we'll give it bonus points for that. And you can put it in. I don't like it being associated with my name, but that's fair. Because it really was. It was so much fun for like.
saying how much fun it was. I kind of want to put it in C tier. It was really fun. And then it got ruined because people figured out exploits and the meta, and I think to defend the devs a little bit, the game probably didn't kick off as much as they'd hoped anyway. So it was difficult for them to put resources into rebalancing it after people had figured out, you could just chuck yourself across the map as a book forever as a ghost. Like it was, people just ruined it, and it was and I don't think the game was getting enough popularity to justify maybe going back and changing it all, but.
I think the thing about Midnight Ghost Hunt was that it was a party game that comp players ruined, where they were just
I think it was late. I think it came out late.
It's still being updated.
Is it? Maybe it's good now.
No.
Is this October 26th this year or last year?
It can't be this year, surely.
I don't know. November 3rd. Early access patch 0.41.
Oh, yeah, because it's still an early access, I think.
No way. Is it really?
I don't know if it ever came out.
They're still going to release it?
Well, I mean, VHS was forever in early access, wasn't it?
Yeah, never came out.
But I think Midnight Ghost Hunt was a party game that came out too long after DVD and all of the other competitive games had kind of changed. And we'll talk about that in a bit more detail with one of our other games, but how the players of these games have changed.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. True.
So it could have been a victim of that, which is maybe you could argue bad design on their parts. Maybe it is D tier.
I remember when DBD first came out, and it was like a hide and seek game. That's how everyone treated it, because that's all that had existed at that point. That's Dead Realm was a hide and seek game. There was another game called Damned that came out before Dead Realm that was also like a hide and seek game. And you just you hid from the monster. You were like, oh, I hope they don't find me. They found me. That kind of just silly, quirky fun. That's how DBD was on launch. And that's kind of the vibe that Midnight Ghost Hunt would fit in with, like the let's all be cannons meta. And not just, Sorry, go ahead.
I hate to commit it so many times today. I'm admitting it, but you're right though. The game had so many fun moments, and it was like so good for like a week. And the highs were so high, and the lows really were because of the player base just becoming the player base. And then there was this like little stupid shit, like you could close the lobby if you were the lobby host.
Oh my god, that was annoying.
If you were,
you got so sweaty about it.
If you were losing, and then it kept track of your wins and losses, so people when they were losing would just close. So we would like, I remember we went in, me and Gary and Linksy went in, and we hadn't played in forever, and we were just getting dunked on over and over and over again. We were finally winning one, and that dude closed the lobby, so we couldn't win. And then we were like, we're done. We're gonna be done for the day. Like we're not gonna.
Yeah,
play this anymore.
I think that's when I stopped too. Was when somebody closed the lobby on me, and I was like, well, what's the point? You know.
Yeah. So I will give it. It's better than Secret Neighbor, and if we put it in C tier, it doesn't have my name next to it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with C tier, bottom of C.
We think top of C tier, Gary.
I think bad. Like top of it, because it was just that 1 week was some of the best fun I've had in an ASIM game.
What a short honeymoon phase, but it sure was good. You're right. Yeah. It was really fun.
Like the fact that we have so many fond memories just thinking about it was like that was a good week.
I have like 25 hours in the game, and I only played it for like a week, so that says a lot, right? We played it a lot in that week. We were like about it until it wasn't.
Next,
I have 25 hours in it.
Yeah,
we've only got 5 left. We're on the home stretch. This is Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals. Now, this is a asymmetrical spin-off game from the single-player game Dark Deception, which I think I can best describe as like first-person horror Pac-Man, where you go through a maze, you try to get a certain number of gems while you've got different themed monsters chasing you. Monsters and Mortals is quite a bit different in that one person plays a monster and the other players play as survivors, and they also are running around the map trying to collect things, and the monster's trying to kill them. This game is very notable for having a Silent Hill DLC.
Did it have it before DBD?
It sure did. It did, yeah. Oh wait, no. Actually, I can't remember.
But because I remember we played it together that one time, because I think it was before DVD.
I think it did. Yeah, because I remember people were talking about a Silent Hill DLC for DVD, and they're like, Konami's never going to give up the rights. And then I think, if I remember correctly, they got it for Monsters and Mortals, and then it was like, well, if they can get it, then DVD can get it too.
Yeah, because I think we played this on stream before I even started streaming.
Yes, we did. And I remember us kind of marveling for a bit at like, wow, we're playing as Pyramid Head in the game. We're playing as
and it was like it was in the Silent Hill like Midwich. The school was there and stuff,
The Midwich school was there, and the Silent Hill like town, like foggy area you could play in as well. Like you could play in Silent Hill, and they had like the map up and everything. So visually and aesthetically, that was really cool. However, the game itself was kind of a nothing burger. I can't really give you any details about any mechanics in the game. It's kind of like White Noise 2. Aside from dropping in and being like, I'm in Silent Hill, there's Pyramid Head, doing the soy face, like, whoa, that's there. See? Heather Mason, I can't really tell you much about it. And they've had a couple of other DLC releases since then. Like I think they had one for Yandere Simulator, which I don't know if you guys have kept up with the drama with that, but that's looking like not a great plan for them anymore. But it's always been kind of a spin-off game for them, so they haven't put in tons of resources to make it like a longevity centered project.
Oh, I vaguely remember, because it revisited some of the worlds from the original game, right? Like there was the was it the sewage kind of area?
The sewers, the sewers, yeah.
Oh no, go.
I remember you could like set up traps, I think, as the killer. You could set up traps for people to like run into or something like that. Yeah.
And I think your characters could do specific things, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Did we play with Kimmy?
I think we did play with Kimmy.
Yeah, because I think I remember murdering Kimmy at one point with like something stupid.
I think it was you, me, Sino, Kimmy, and Gab. I think that was our crew, and I think we did like a 5-person, like one person played as the monster, the 4 played as survivors. Yeah,
So because I think I played as like
time.
a little Bellsprout character.
Yes, yeah.
I picked something weird.
Yeah. I would argue not F tier, but maybe. Well, it's gonna be weird putting it in Doug tier, but I think that's kind of where it belongs.
What if I promise to play it later? You guys can put it in Doug tier.
Okay.
I'll play it later.
We never played it again.
We did never play it again.
Which means it didn't have a lasting impact on us. And as you say, we can't say any of... Let's put it at the bottom of Doug tier. On the basis that Doug will play it.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
I'll try it. It's only $5 on Steam, so...
Well,
it's $5?
You know...
Oh, top of F.
Top of F? No. It was fun.
That gets me out of trouble, though, Gary. So thank you.
I would put it above Secret Neighbor, personally.
I mean, I didn't play Secret Neighbor, so
having played both of them, yeah, I would put it at top of Doug tier, ironically. All right.
Okay.
I'm
not going to fight for it.
All right. I'm going to go take a bathroom break because it's Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed time.
We said a game couldn't beat Dead by Daylight, but here it is.
No. Not on my watch.
So Ghostbusters is a game by Ilphonic with a Ghostbusters license, and it is one of the best asymmetrical games out there, and it's one of the most underloved as well.
True.
It's a game where you take on it's 4 busters, take on 1 ghost.
4 busters,
and that's what they are. That's what the game calls
It's just
them.
a funny name. It's a funny name.
And the ghost has to kind of like outlast the busters by just kind of hiding their like life points, these little portal voids they can respawn from. They have to try and hide them around and defend them. The ghost's role is to kind of like scare the NPC characters around the environment and haunt the location to 100%, so that they can kind of create the end game collapse, which is I think 2 minutes, where they have to just survive at that point. They don't have any bonus life; they just have to survive. The busters, they're just on the constant hunt, trying to pincer attack, working together to close the gap and trap the ghost and get them in the I forget what the trap is, but what it's called. But you try and get those, and you try and catch the ghost 3 times, or find its rifts and destroy those before it can respawn from them. The game has had 4 free updates, 4 free DLC updates, and they just had one last week. Their 4th one's come out, where it's got 2 new maps, a new subway station, and an arcade, which we need to play, Doug.
Yeah, I played.
There's a new Overlord ghost type that's been added, which has Samhain has been added, which is a ghost from the TV show and comics. It's actually expanded its campaign because it has like a single player campaign built into the game. It just had a Steam and Nintendo Switch release. I think the game's. I mean, Ilphonic. If we were ranking the companies running these, I would struggle to not put Ilphonic at the top.
I agree with you. Everything you said, I agree with. And something else that wasn't mentioned is that they were the pioneers of Twitch drops in an ASIM. They were the first ones to do drops.
Yes.
Which is like huge. It's huge for the games. When I streamed it during drops, my numbers were great. People were about it. So I feel like there's a lot of players out there, maybe not as many streamers or people watching it on Twitch, but there are a lot of players. I've never struggled to fill a lobby playing the game since launch, and it still continues to be very successful. I just got a paid opportunity to play Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed for this new Steam release. So like they're still putting resources into the game. And again, the game's still really, really fun. I played it on stream and had a blast with it. I don't know how many times I said, God, I got to start playing this again. This is so fun. So it's a fantastic video game. Ilphonic being at the helm of Killer Clowns, it makes me excited because, again, they've managed to keep Predator Hunting Grounds and Ghostbusters alive and kicking for this long.
Ghostbusters also has like one of the best grinds in the game. Like leveling up the ghost takes time, but it's rewarding. It doesn't feel like it's too long. There's a bunch of cosmetics you can get. There's challenges. There's a lot to do in Ghostbusters, and it looks beautiful.
And they added the prestige system now, so you can get like a custom little icon, so people know that you've prestige, and you reset progress and do the same thing you always do.
And I would argue it's like a perfect balance of like competitiveness and party, because when you lose in it, you don't feel too deflated. You just move into the next one. Like it's not, but you are trying to win still. But then the game gives you points for playing, so you don't feel like, I got a 0K. You don't have that feeling. You just got caught.
Yep, Absolutely. They do a lot of role reversal in that way, right? Because like the killer stays through the entire game in DBD, and the survivors stay through the entire game in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you don't have someone having to sit out. No one dies early in this game. It's designed that everyone gets to play the entire match.
Yep, it's a rewarding game. So I would vote top of A tier, personally.
I agree.
You want to do the number 2 game?
I almost want to put it in S tier. Like
what?
I just because if we give plus points and minus points to like teams running games, like quite frankly, Illphonic, the fact they've had 4 free DLCs.
They're just not losing money on the game either, so people are playing.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just released the Ecto edition.
They're doing weekly dev streams where they get on and talk about the game and the future of the game. They're hiring a bunch of people. Like they had a new guy that was talking during the last dev stream that they're hiring a bunch of people for the team because they're expecting the Steam release to go very well. The Switch release, they're really expecting to go well. The game does really well on console. It's got full crossplay everywhere.
Ghostbusters is a huge license, and they have a lot of freedom to add new characters, licensed and unlicensed.
Full creative control to just create new ghosts and new.
They've got the actual actors involved.
Yeah, they have actual OG Ghostbusters cosmetics and stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue S tier, but I wouldn't argue against S tier if you guys wanted to put it there. I know John doesn't. The look on his face when you said S tier, I thought he was gonna throw up.
The thought of it being in S tier disgusts me. I'll be honest. A tier I'm fine with.
Yeah, Gary and I wouldn't settle for any less than top of A tier at this point.
I think it's just it's a very polished game. Like every element of it.
Resident Evil Resistance though.
Yeah, because Illphonic get plus points. Capcom let that drop.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is going to continue. I don't see Ghostbusters going anywhere in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I don't see it going anywhere either. Because I would personally put it below Resistance. Just because I don't personally like it, and I don't want to have it as the top of A tier. But I won't put up a fight if y'all insist on top of A tier.
For me, it's very close, because I think Resistance is the second best.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
It's also futureless. And
right.
There was the Nikolai situation where it's like, oh, that was like, and I know that it was affected by the pandemic and stuff, but Ghostbusters hasn't had a bad moment. But having said that, I don't play it that often.
But if you came back, you'd want to, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, because the game is really good. Like John, I think we could get you to like it more if we played together more frequently.
I agree.
I think we could bring you on board.
I think so too. I think that Gary and I can passenger princess you through a really good time on Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed to where you'll be like, wow, you're right. They have been working hard on this game, and it is more fun now.
It's great that they're working hard, but you know, I'm sure some of these other devs worked really hard on their games too.
Yeah, but I mean, they're seeing results, man. It's fun. We should try it. We should play it sometime. Give it one more shot.
I'm happy to put it at the top of A, but Johnny, because you have the negative opinion, but I can see why you might not want to put it there. So I'm happy to put it just in the middle.
The thing is, okay, cool.
Doug, what's your opinion?
Is this okay?
I mean, I never played Resistance, so obviously it's hard for me to.
Resistance was really good.
Maybe I have a different tone. If I was singing a different tune, if I played it and also was like, oh my god, Resistance was so good. But like,
I think it's a testament to how good Resistance was, that even though it got like such a raw deal and like had such a bad Nikolai update with the gun meta and stuff, and the fact that it was released as part of Resident Evil 3, it's still the second best that we've ever had.
Like, yeah, that's my thing. Is like the gun meta with Nikolai sucked, and that's probably the biggest ding against it. But I think that only came about as a byproduct of Neobard's, the developer, being so handcuffed by what they could do and what they could not do by Capcom that they just kind of were like, well, Nikolai has to do something, and so they made him a gun guy.
Yeah.
And I understand that's like a negative, I guess, on Capcom, to docket points, but I still think it deserves to be second best. I think it's,
which I can agree with, because I love Resistance. It's important for the list.
It is
The integrity of the list must be protected. No, I think
the
Resistance
legacy
is
of
fantastic.
Resistance. Yeah,
I'm not going to fight for Resistance not being second because I love it.
That's really it. It's not that I don't think that Ghostbusters doesn't deserve high A or anything. It's just I think that it has to be below Resistance for me.
That's fine.
That's it. It can be like the difference between a 9.9 and 9.8. You know?
No, that's fair.
Okay. Thank you guys. Project Playtime.
F.
No way. I mean, I'll settle for no less than C.
Oh, fuck off.
It's still so good.
Well,
you haven't played. Can I ask you a question, Gary? You
How many hours do I have? Let me check.
No. When was the last time you played? Because they've consistently been updating the game, and the current iteration of it.
If I'm put in that pit, do I still have to do that mini game?
Oh my god! It's always this.
F tier.
Yeah.
F tier.
That's
always comes back to this.
That's one thing that only.
It's because it's rubbish.
Like
it's awful.
It's like
terrible.
a tenth of your time playing the game.
No,
it depends how long you have to wait in the hole.
They're so polished. They've got all kinds of new puzzles. They got new characters. They've got new battle passes. The game has a robust player base.
Of children.
I forgot to introduce the game. This is actually the spin-off game from the hit series single player games Poppy Playtime. And it has Poppy Playtime characters in it. You can play as evil Poppy Playtime characters against a team of robots. 4? Is it 4? 1v4?
Yeah. I think 1v4. No, is it?
No, it's 1v6. It's 1v6. Yeah, it's 7 people.
Okay, 1v6. I thought it was more than 4, but I wasn't sure.
No, it's 1v6. And again, it's a fantastic little game. It's really fun. And it's continued to have updates, and they just started a creator program, which I'm not going to join because I don't play it enough. But the fact that they have a creator program is a green flag. It's not this license isn't going anywhere. You see it in every fucking mall, every fair you go to has a bunch of Poppy's Playtime shit. Like it's just.
Yeah, so did Hello Neighbor.
You can have a personal vendetta against certain game elements, which I don't disagree with, are miserable. I don't like that mini game anymore. It was a meme when I was teasing you about it, but yeah, it's not fun. And sometimes I just go next because I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, I get that. But overall package, the game it's solid. There's no way it's going beneath Midnight Ghost Hunt. There's no possible way.
Oh, there's because like you just said, you don't play it enough. If it's better than Midnight Ghost Hunt, you have no reason to.
But the Midnight Ghost Hunt just
because like you're saying it's in the best state it's ever been. At least Midnight Ghost Hunt, that was a week of like solid, and we understand that it died because of various reasons.
No, it's not gonna go.
If you're saying Poppy's Playtime is in the best state it's ever been, and you're not playing it, D tier at best.
I'm not playing it because Texas Chainsaw came out though. I'm also not playing Ghostbusters, and it's an A tier. Like there's no time for all these games, Gary. Would I play it? I take Project Playtime and look at the list of games that are active still. Which ones would I play? And Project Playtime goes up above Evil Dead. Like
you're an anomaly, John. Where do you feel?
So I was pleasantly surprised by Project Playtime when we played it. I did like the little puzzle mini games that you do.
They were good, actually. That is fair.
They've added cool new ones too.
Oh, which ones? Cool what they added? Tell me more. I like the puzzles.
Well, there's one that's it's like a grab machine, and it grabs down. You have to time the thing to where it grabs the thing that's going back and forth.
You know, it kind of reminds me of like the Among Us mini games a little bit. I wonder if that's where they got the inspiration. Probably. I found it pretty polished. The one thing that I didn't like about it, honestly, was once I got in chase with the monster, I felt like there wasn't much I could do. I feel like there wasn't enough. I mean, I know that you can like close doors behind you and you have like little techniques that you can employ, but I just felt like the chase wasn't there for me. So have they done anything?
Yeah, they've worked on the chase. They've updated maps and made like loops and stuff. You can actually loop now and like use your rules to keep distance and stuff like that. It's actually like, if anything, it's like playing killer in that game got really hard after they made all the adjustments to like the chase stuff. So, and they added a bunch of perks which help you in chase. There's been a bunch of perk updates they've added. You can level up individual perks and stuff like that. And there was an issue in the game where at one point you could only equip one perk at a time, and there was like no way to fix it. And it took them months, but they finally fixed that, so you could actually run a full perk loadout.
It took them months. Sounds like a minus point to the devs.
I mean,
Gary's never got. He wants it as low as possible, just because of that. Just because of that thing
that is terrible. It's so bad.
He's holding a part of the
game. Oh, one part of the game that you have to do every time you play it.
Well, nothing in Midnight Ghost Hunt has been fun after the first week, so I don't know.
It's not going above Midnight Ghost Hunt. I will never allow that. But I can accept it not going in F.
We have 2 votes. We have 2 votes, right, John? So we can just.
That's true.
We can just.
But one of those 2 votes is worth more than someone else's vote. Junior co-host.
Yeah, but say let's say a co-host gets 2 votes and I get 1. It's still going to be 3-2, Gary. Okay, we still have the majority.
I would put it at the top of Doug. That is me being generous.
No,
that'd be funny.
Not. Top of C tier. Absolutely.
Top of C tier.
Top of C tier. Top of D tier.
It gets plus.
Tell me some of your fond memories. Some of those really fun moments you've had.
When DDoS was happening in DBD, and I wasn't able to play it, I streamed Project Playtime full time for 2 weeks and never got bored. My viewer count didn't drop precipitously. It was a nice time.
Perfect. Thank you. Nothing special. Just you played it. You switched your brain off. You DVD survived it.
I had fun.
For 2 weeks.
I had fun.
Great.
I've had way more fun with Project Playtime than I did with Midnight Ghost Hunt because that was only 1 week of fun before the game died completely.
But the heights were high.
They were high, but not high enough to beat Project Playtime. That game was dope. It's going above Midnight Ghost Hunt, Gary. Gary, I gave you so much in this. You have bent me over and fucked me in this tier list.
That's
bro.
true, Gary.
I have had to accept Friday the 13th.
God.
And I gave you guys. I've gave you guys Resistance second best ever without ever touching the game because I care about you. And I'm asking you to allow Project Playtime to be just below Left 4 Dead's fucking afterthought ASIM, and just above Midnight Ghost Hunt that you haven't played in 2 years. Okay, that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a lot here. Just the top of
reasonable.
Just the top of C tier.
I don't.
I gave you guys VHS mid B, even though it's the best designed ASIM of all time. I gave you Resistance.
Well, to be fair, you accepted that because of Hellbound. We know.
That's true, but I'm just saying, a lot of it is about you too, Gary. All right? There's a lot of it was personal. All right? I have not pushed back on shit with you since we had the Friday the 13th talk. And I'm asking for Project Playtime to go top of C.
Very agreeable. He could have made this miserable for us, Gary.
True.
He's doing that right now.
I am. This is the one time I'm asking. There's give and take in these relationships, Gary. And I'm asking you to give me top of C tier because I gave you the world with Resistance as number 2 overall.
I think we need to save our energy for TCM.
No, I don't think we're going to have a hard time with TCM, if I'm being really honest.
Fine, put it above Midnight Ghost Hunt, but no, I'm disappointed.
You'll get over it when we shit on TCM.
I was hoping you'd cave and give it to me just in the middle of between it and Dead Realm. That's where I was hoping to put it.
You were that cunty for 1 spot? Oh my god, Gary. That's crazy.
It's what I bring to the table.
We've got 2 left. This one's Back 4 Blood, which was developed by Turtle Rock Studios. It's basically the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. There's never going to be a Left 4 Dead 3, pretty much. Like, Valve's just stopped making games. So, Back 4 Blood is about as close as we're ever going to get. It had a little bit of a different system, though. There were cards. You could make decks that would give you different abilities as you go through the game. So, it kind of had an added randomizer effect that Left 4 Dead didn't have. It also had... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Was the ASIM part the mode, like the separate play mode?
It's literally the same thing as Left 4 Dead.
The glue one.
Same exact
the glue
concept.
One bit, right? Yeah.
It's not the same. The game isn't the same, but it's like it's its own mode. That's like ASIM.
The asymmetrical mode, the versus mode, I would say is inferior. Can we all agree it's inferior to Left 4 Dead's?
I don't know. I don't know. It was actually underrated, I think. And again, we're gonna go back to Midnight Ghost Hunt with me. I know you guys didn't have this. So I didn't know you guys back then. But I had a group that I played with, and the highs were fucking insane. That game was when we were playing on the beta, we played that shit for I probably put like 50 hours into the ASIM on the beta. And then when the game actually launched, it was like nobody was playing the ASIM, so you couldn't really play it, and then it just died. So
right.
I just remembered what I think we put the most time into in Back 4 Blood.
Oh yes, we had a little mini game of our own that we played. I've still got recordings of us doing that. So, Doug, you know how you start out in that like Fort World Hub area?
Yeah.
and you could go out and have a target practice.
Yeah, shooting range,
you can kill each other out there.
Yep.
And so we would 1v1 each other, where one person played the invader and the other person played Remember the Alamo, and they would try to snipe the person trying to invade, and the person invading would like duck and run like
after getting there with like a knife.
They would get in there and try to knife them. It was so much fun.
Really
I've got
fun.
like hours of recordings of us playing that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It's the best.
And like if you invaded and you killed them, then you got to be the new Alamo defender.
So like
and they had to be the invader.
I like that.
Yeah,
King of the Hill style. I like that.
I liked it when we would load in and we'd rush in to get the gun and just win that fight.
yeah, because that's how we would decide who would defend, was whoever won the first fight.
That sounds like so much fun. Like,
that makes you want to play Back 4 Blood again.
It was more fun than the main game.
Yeah.
We would all like stand right by the door that leads outside, where you're like safe, where you're invincible, and we'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go, and then we'd just rush for whatever gun we wanted. Yeah,
we used to do it like 2v2 as well sometimes, and you'd be like, someone would stand at the door, one person would climb up and try and jump down just to try and like catch them off guard.
Yeah, there were so many times when we get hubris moments where we would jump out from up high, and then we'd miss our shot, and the other person would kill us. So fun.
But yeah, the ASIM mode.
But the ASIM mode.
It was really fun. It got completely ignored. And again, I think Turtle Rock did kind of a shitty job with the game in general. Like there wasn't a lot of updates for the main game either, and it died really fast. But I would say that I would argue. Again, this is going to be hard for me to defend because you guys didn't really play it, but I would put it like probably below Left 4 Dead, but like in the same vein. I'm giving it a lot of bonus points for like the highs being so high and the potential being so big, and they just basically ignored the game mode until it died. But
I think I only played like 2 or 3 rounds of it, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's when we played together, because I only played like 2 or 3 rounds.
Because we kind of like, this isn't like,
because like eventually the circle closed in, right? And
so you were just like, you had to play the survivors played like to defend, and then you were getting to play as the special infected and like try and kill them off before the timer ran out, basically.
Right.
And so it was a lot of fun. I'm putting it over Project Playtime, again based solely on potential on the highs, because there really didn't get any development out of the game, but I think it could have been something special. I'd still make Left 4 Dead the superior game, just because Left 4 Dead was the better game of the two. But I don't know. It's like picking nits at this point. I'm not going to argue with anybody. If you guys put it in F tier, I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
I don't think it's F tier. Just
I don't
because
think it's F tier. Yeah,
it was fine. I would probably put it around the top of Doug tier.
Well, and then the other thing I was just thinking is, like, ironically enough, like I'm the only one who gives a shit about it, so it being the king of D tier kind of makes sense, right? Like it kind of tracks.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not D tier, Doug. It's Doug tier.
I think it was better than Midnight Ghost Hunt and Project Playtime, but for the memes, I'm down with it just being the king of D tier.
I'm not fighting this again.
All right, that brings us to the last
S tier.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre above DVD in S tier,
cool.
Right?
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We have no problems with the game whatsoever. We think it's the king of asymmetrical horror.
Let's bring it back down to C, because it's making me sick.
Okay. Yeah. I was about to throw up. Texas Chainsaw Massacre just released in August. You guys have probably heard us talk about it in recent episodes. Published by Gun Media, developed by Sumo Digital. It was published by Gun Media, but I think it's pretty clear that the crew that worked on it is not the same crew that worked on Friday the 13th. A lot of people have changed since then. A lot of personnel changes.
The good thing about Friday the 13th, I stand, was probably Ilphonic. I think the good stuff about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, probably Sumo Digital.
Yes.
If there was a game like of this minus and plus points due to developers, this is the game that's going to be the most harshly affected by it.
Right. Well, we'll get to that. But just in case anyone's not familiar, Texas Chainsaw 3v4, actually, very unusual. The only game on this list besides Identity V where you can play co-op killer, which is what we were so excited about for the game. Three family members, versus 4 victims. The victims start in the basement with Bubba, who's down there, and then the other 2 family members are setting up outside. The victims need to escape the basement, They need to rush outside. They need to either start up a generator, unlock a valve, and or start up a car battery. They've got different objectives, different ways to escape. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, that's how the game released in August, and that's exactly how it is now. No changes.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing but minor balance changes and release paid DLCs. Like, it's actually paid DLCs for skins, not even for game changes. Like, I'll give you guys, this is my favorite example of the failure of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When the game came out the first week, my kids were here. My kids are 17 and 15, so they're, older kids. And I played a bunch of TCM with my boys. I was like, this is awesome. Me and my 2 kids can play killer in a game. And we were having a blast with it. We had a fun time the first week it came out. And so a few weeks ago, my kid came back, my 17-year-old, and he was like, hey, we need to play Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm sure it's changed a bunch now. And I was like, nope. They've added nothing. No new maps, no new characters, no new perks, nothing. They've done some balance changes and they released some skins. And he's like, oh, I don't want to play them. And I think that summarizes the entire TCM player base. Like, they haven't added anything. They haven't changed anything dramatically. They've fixed problems, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Well, there's two halves to the Texas Chainsaw players. I would say there's those that are like, I'm not playing this. Like, they haven't added anything. And then the other side, they go, I'm not going back to DVD. No,
you can't make me.
Well, then I've never seen a game's meta stale so quickly. Like,
right.
families figured out how to get in comms and make it basically impossible to do the objectives. And victims found ways to get out of the game in under 2 minutes and just all escape in under 2 minutes. And then everybody just like leans on these meta strategies that guarantee, you'll watch family streamers on Twitch that won't lose a game in a 7-8 hour stream. They'll just win, no matter what. And then you'll watch family groups that 4-stack, and they are victim groups that 4-stack do the same thing. They just win, speed run wins. And it's like, who's having fun? It was supposed to be a party game. Everybody celebrated the MMR was going to be not a thing. And then what's happening? Like, it's sweatier than DVD. And that's the vibe that I get from people in my chat is like, this game is actually sweatier than DVD is.
Yes.
Like, it's
absolutely.
The only game is only slightly less sweaty than VHS.
Yeah. And VHS was balanced. It was made for that. And this game is supposed to be a party game. That's what they sell. That's what they advertised us. And then we haven't even touched on the fact that like they've got community managers that are like cracking jokes at any reasonable complaint brought to them respectfully is fucking
don't play,
trivialized and insulted and condescended. It's just,
I've never, like, I don't know the last time like a smaller team that I've rooted so far against. Like, they just come across so rude. Yeah. So pompous, so arrogant.
Yeah.
And
I've
gross.
I've never wanted, this is me we're talking about. I've never wanted to love a horror asym more than I wanted to love this game.
Because you love Texas Chainsaw as well.
We've got historical evidence on the podcast of that being true. Yeah.
And then the last time I booted this game up was on October 16th, which sounds bad until I tell you I only did that because I got a new graphics card and I wanted to see if I could play on Ultra. So I didn't even play it for fun. I didn't play because I wanted to. I just was testing it. I don't know when the last I didn't play it until like since before TwitchCon, like by far. Like there was like weeks went by where I haven't touched it.
Gary and I were talking about this.
Yeah,
Gary and I were talking about this. We haven't played since September, since like mid-September.
Yeah.
I think Gary, you played like 4 days after me.
Yeah, I think yours the 21st of September. I'm the 25th.
Yes, I'd be willing to bet that the last time I played in September, I played with you, Gary. That's how long it's been for me too. Like I literally can't remember the last time I sat down and played it for fun.
So, and to John's point, as John made last season and has made a couple times since, I'm gonna just none of us played it over Halloween.
Yep, I'm so glad you brought that up, Gary.
Good. I thought I'd set you off.
I am baffled. I am bewildered. I am flabbergasted that this game came out in August and then October came around, spooky month. Halloween came and went and no content update. Sorry, cosmetic, not a content update. I believe they called it a content update publicly. Cosmetics are a cosmetic update. Content is like new perks, new killers, new family members, new victims, new maps, things like that, new actual content that affects the game.
Even a custom event might have been worth something. Like it would have been like, okay, we did a cool Halloween event, but no, what we got was double XP.
I know,
to level up your characters that you don't need to level up because their dog shit perk system means if you can level one up, you can level them all up. You just have to keep re-rolling.
Yeah.
Like you really gain nothing but convenience, which is it's convenience in the face of the alternative, but it's not even that convenient because you still have to re-roll 15 times to get the perks you want.
Yeah.
Like the game's a fucking mess, boys. Like it's a mess in every category.
Well, they just had an update, which has, been massive. They finally fixed the gas station car exploit after 2 odd months.
Been in the game since August, and now they just now fixed it.
Yeah.
You know what? It only took them about a week and a half, 2 weeks to fix the audio issue with the paid cosmetic that cost $16. So they're making
that is a good point.
I'm just like, I'm honestly like offended that there was no content plan or path for doing anything in October. That's insane.
They tech tested. The tech test had leaks of the new characters. Like they've had those characters in the game since the technical test before the game even launched. And so somehow it took them this long to get them out. Like why are they not out?
Why not plan to have them out for Halloween? And like you said, an event, some kind of event. Put, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be that crazy. Put pumpkins on the ground that you can smash and get a little speed boost. Just rip off TBD at that point.
Yeah, at this point, do anything. Just try, man.
Anything.
Like,
and what really frustrates me too is the fact that there was all this hubbub, all this hype about it being a party game. They talk about it being like, oh yeah, MMR's not gonna be a thing in this game. This is a party game, right? It's branded as a party game. They were really hyping that up. There is not a single party game element in this game. And if it really was supposed to be a party game, then why was there no Halloween event? That would have been the perfect time to do something silly with the game. Instead, it takes itself so seriously. People have been sweating from the drop. There's been no room to do anything party game-esque. You can't emote. You can't wear a funny cosmetic. You can't do anything fun in this game. It is sweat at the beginning. It's sweat at the end. It's a comp game. It's the most competitive game on this entire list besides maybe VHS. And I think that's just because VHS players had more time to get into it. And honestly, it had a much higher skill ceiling. The skill ceiling in this game is pretty much non-existent. I don't know how you're supposed to express skill in this game. I really don't.
You memorize the maps. That's the only way. You just know where everything is all the time. And you just go to it. And that's how you win.
Exactly.
And if you know the map better than they do, then you'll probably win. And if you don't, then you'll probably lose.
Exactly. Yeah. The game's got great atmosphere. It's got good visuals. It's got the aesthetics are there, but it's just the content, the gameplay is not. And I'm like, it's probably the game that I feel the most divisive about because I feel like it had the highest potential. We were talking about it for weeks, months leading up.
And we talked about the highs in Midnight Ghost Hunt. We had those highs week 1, week 2. We all played together. We did Spine Chill family streams where we were like, this is fucking awesome. And then the reality of the games being super shallow set in. And it was like, oh, you just have to memorize the maps and then you win or lose. This isn't fun. Let's do something else.
And I'm going to go in and reiterate some of the points I said about Friday the 13th a little bit. Because I think I think TCM gives you a weaker sandbox to have fun in. But I think the majority of the fun comes from playing with your friends. Like, I think the solo queue experience is pretty empty. I didn't enjoy playing solo victim. I didn't enjoy playing solo family. I think the fact that it doesn't have a ping system means you have to use voice comms to get any, and it's such a competitive, sweaty game that you're kind of locked into having to talk to people, which isn't always a pleasant experience for everybody. I just think the game was badly designed in places, and the devs are just such assholes about it. Like, if you bring up any of this stuff, they're just so nasty and
it feels like
about the way
it feels
they
like
respond.
they want to fucking, if you suggest something, it's like the worst way to get it put in the game because they just shit on any suggestion that gets made. They get shit on any complaints. Like, you complain about the perk system. Well, you guys are just lazy and spoiled. You complain about fucking the skins, and they're like, well, we had to order catalogs.
I had to buy magazines on eBay.
I had to buy magazines to get the it's like, come on, man. Like Like any valid complaints are just like slapped about. It's like they put a fucking banner the size of the moon on their lobby screen to try and get you to buy their $16 skin. And they're like, everything's bigger in Texas. Hey. It's like, shut the fuck up. Don't make a fucking joke. Fix your shit. We all got really excited for like a year about this game, and we're all pissed now. Fix it.
And it was a $40 game.
Right.
$40 game. Not 14. $40 game.
Right. The humor is especially off-putting considering, like I said, the game is so serious. It's like, it's jarringly serious. And so the whole everything bigger in Texas thing, like that might work for like Propnight. That might work for an actual party game, but this game it takes itself so seriously. The devs take themselves so seriously that when they joke around like that, it's like, are you taking the piss? Yeah. You're making fun of us right now?
Yeah, you're talking down to us, because that's what a lot of their response is come across as on Twitter and stuff. Is they talk down to players.
If you had to back order like 70s magazines to figure out what kind of zipper you wanted to use on Leland's fucking jeans, you don't get to make jokes. Okay, this is not a joking matter. You don't get to do that now,
especially because all those resources are online.
Right,
you don't have to buy the magazines. It's all online.
Just try one time. Be like, yeah, you're probably right. You guys are probably right. We should have been a little quicker. Like, at least, I mean, I don't know.
Just one time. Well, the thing is too is that, like, I mean, look at this list. Look at this list. This list that we have right before us. This tier list is a graveyard. Yeah. If you go through this, there's maybe a couple of active games. There's like Dead by Daylight, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. I mean,
Propnight,
Project Playtime. I mean, Propnight. We don't know. TCM.
It's still 500 players. It's not dead, but
Home Sweet Home Survive. I mean, like, the rest of these are either not being actively developed or they're delisted. This is a graveyard of games, and I don't think that the TCM developers realize how close to the grave they are with this game. I don't think they realize how quick it happens, as we've seen so many times with these games, like under a year lifespan before they're delisted a lot of the time. I don't think they understand how high the stakes are and why it's not just like something to just brush off.
I mean, I uninstalled it a few days ago. I'm not going to play it again.
Can we really stop and think about the potential that this might be a fucking shovelware? Like, they might have just been like, you know what, we sold enough copies, it was profitable.
Oh, that's what I think's happened. That's why I think they're churning out cosmetics for the fools that still think that the devs give a shit about them.
Yep.
Even though all they do is piss into their tent on Twitter. Like, I genuinely think that's why cosmetics are the $16, this, that, and the other. Here's a new Leland, here's 5 different recolors of it, give us another $5, $10. Like, they're churning out money, so they're going to jump ship. They know this is
and then Wes didn't Wes tease that they had another project, or they were already looking into another project? Like, he already
it was Halloween. The license was up, and he made a tweet being like, oh. And it was like, you've got a license at the moment that's not in a great state. Unless he's done something else now.
I mean, I just would think that the experience with Friday the 13th would put kind of more of a bad taste in your mouth for acquiring other licenses. But you know, what do I know?
I don't know, man. I'm not big on these conspiracy theories, but I'm like pretty much on board with, like, it's a probability that this is like a shovelware element, and they're like, we've made our money, we don't fucking care anymore.
Well,
we'll think about our next project.
How do they develop this game? Think about it. What does Gun do? Gun is 12 people that buy magazines, they have ideas about perk systems, and they run a Reddit and ban people. Like, they're ideas people. They sit around a table and they have ideas. They're game designers. That's what they are. Who's building this game? Sumo Digital. And to get Sumo Digital to build this game and add things to it, they have to pay them.
Right.
They're probably sitting there going, like, how much money are they now making from the game to justify paying Sumo Digital to finish these killers, these family members, to add these cosmetics? Like, it's a lot cheaper to hire someone to just make some cosmetics they can churn out and make a quick buck. That's what I think's going on. I generally don't think Gun give a shit.
Gary, we talked about this at TwitchCon, I believe, actually, that exact idea of, like, because we were talking about, I was, of course, going on one of my rants about, like, I can't believe Halloween's going to come and go and they do nothing. And we were like, why? That like makes so little sense that they would do that. What are some of the reasons why that could happen? And we arrived at the theory that maybe they're trying to, release these cosmetics so they can pay Sumo to make more content, because otherwise no more content's being made. But then
now I think they don't even care about doing that.
Well, yeah, but now, but then I was also thinking about, like Doug said, they had these characters sitting around since beta that got leaked. Why not just release them? That makes no sense to me. When it comes to TCM, I'm just like, I'm baffled, because
unless they owe Sumo money for them still.
Possibly there could be some sort of contract in place. I don't know. Like,
this is all conspiracy stuff,
all conjecture, but
tinfoil hats now.
Yeah.
But like we kind of have to go here because they're not being super transparent about things, frankly, or their content path or plans moving forward. So we kind of have to just guess. And then the moves that they've been making are so perplexing that it's very difficult to figure out, like, to theorize what could possibly be the impetus for all of it.
Well, in better news, they did a teaser on Twitter this week of the new characters. So they are finally going to release them at some point in the near future, and then we'll...
Just after Halloween. They waited until Halloween was over, and they're like, we should probably tease it now. That makes sense, in November.
I don't care. I don't trust any of my money going into this game anymore. I don't think it's long for this world. I don't think Gun care about the players. They just don't come across as very likable.
I spent $100 on the VHS Founders Pack. I spent, whatever it cost to buy the Propnight supporter pack when last year relaunched. Yep. Even after I told Gary game sucks, they have a lot of work to do, I still paid for their return supporter pack thing. Like, I put money into these games thinking, like, it's a gamble. I have not bought any of the TCM content. I didn't buy the Nicotero skin. I did not buy any of the victim skins.
No, I didn't either.
And I don't see myself. I'll probably come back and play it when the new characters come out, but I don't think I'll buy the DLCs. I think I'll just play all the characters.
I know some people.
See what happens.
Some people were like defending the prices and stuff, but like, I'm a Greg Nicotero fan. Like, I like his work, but $16 for a skin. I mean, for a game that just released and has no like content updates yet.
Yeah, we paid 16 to me. We paid 16 for the Naughty Bear, right? Isn't that what that was? It was close to that. It was the same game. I bought it.
I haven't bought it, but
the difference is that's in a fully functional S tier ASIM game that is gonna consistently be enjoyable and have a return on my investment, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't charge $16 when your game is like on life support, and I don't know. It's just
also
like
oh no, go.
All your big words, you're perplexing, you're befuddling, you're flabbergasting, like all that. Like, how did the Nicotero skin get shoved before the new content in Halloween time, right? Like, they could have this goes all the way back to Friday the 13th. We're gonna go take a trip down memory lane for me, because I was a full-time Friday the 13th streamer when that game launched, right? And this was like my passion, this was my game. When the license dispute happened, it was discussed publicly. Gun Media knew that the license was being disputed, was probably going to be lost. They had two options. They had the Jason X chapter that they were going to release that had the Grendel ship. It had Jason X. It had the actual, all that shit was in the game. Those were data mined and hacked and pulled out, right? It was there. Gun Media decided, rather than shove that content out, because the content was unfinished, rather than shove that out prior to the license being pulled and have that extra content be in the game, they recoded the game with the new Unreal Engine. They redid the engine rather than releasing the new content. And then the license dispute got finalized, and then they said, you guys can no longer put out any content for the game. They had an option to release the new content or redo the engine, which they could have done the engine post-license. They needed the license to be okay for them to release the new content, and they chose to do the engine instead. And to this is 7 years later. I think that somebody that's in charge, or somebody that's making the decisions, doesn't know how to use a fucking priority system to be like, what should we do first? They just decide whatever they want to do first, and they do it.
Is it possible that Ilphonic were like, no, we need to do the engine first?
Why would they have done that?
I don't know. Maybe they couldn't fix the DLC stuff and get it like finished without the engine being updated.
Maybe, but just shove it broken. Shove it broken so it's out, so you don't have to put it away now. You can have it and fix it later. You know what I mean? Like, just shove it out there.
Right.
Launch it.
Maybe.
You're gonna lose the license anyways. You need it. It needed to be released so they could, and then as soon as the license got pulled, they're like, you can't release any new content now. They could have done the engine then. But again, I'm not saying this all goes into the conspiracy side. I'm saying somebody at fucking Gun Media was like, do we want to shove these new characters out or do we want to sell a $16 skin first? And it was Halloween. Right. And they were like, dude, do the skin, bro. Like, why?
Yeah.
Do something that changes the way the game plays, because right now a skin's not going to bring people back to the game.
Yeah, Gun have left a really bad taste in my mouth.
I think it says a lot. Outlast Trials, great game, by the way. Came out in, I believe, May, something like that. May, April, something like that. That game came out. It came out with the content that it released with, and it hasn't really had anything since then, like for 5 months. And then Halloween rolled around, and they released all this stuff. They were like, guess what? There's a Halloween event. You can get exclusive cosmetics. There's a new trial. All this stuff. And their player base, it went way up. It went up to I think 5,000 or 6,000. I remember right after that. And I looked over at TCM's numbers, and they were under 2,000. And I was like, there's no reason why Outlast Trials should have more people playing than TCM right now if they were both doing their jobs competently.
Yeah.
Because TCM had way more hype behind it than Outlast Trials. All due respect to Outlast Trials. At least in the asymmetrical community it did. I'm not sure about the broader horror community. Maybe Outlast Trials had more. But Outlast Trials had nothing for months and months. Everything was trending downward. People were losing interest in the game. This is usually when people start kind of hitting the uninstall button. But they brought it back because they did something for Halloween. And I think that just it's the most telling that Outlast Trials has more people playing it than TCM right now. And it's not close either. It's like twice as many. So,
this brings us to, where do we put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game?
Below Monstrum 2, I'm thinking?
In our list. If we were just focusing on the development.
I think it's frustrating because this game had it had A-tier potential. It had I would even say
I think it had
S-tier potential.
It had potential, yeah.
But it is I think it's got to lose. I would argue multiple tiers for how badly it's being manhandled right now. It's being completely it's being sabotaged. I feel like this game is being sabotaged.
I'm struggling of whether or not this is where I would put it. I think below depth. But part of me wants to put it in C somewhere. Just because I don't think I'm going to reinstall it. The idea of playing depth again sounds exciting to me.
Yes.
I think I would right now. I think I'd rather play Project Playtime than TCM.
Wow.
And I do not have a high opinion of Project Playtime.
And on that note, I'd vote for bottom of C tier. We've already knocked VHS down an entire tier for their development team. What changes here?
Yeah, I mean,
below Midnight Ghost Hunt and Dead Realm.
I'm down. Honestly, because again, do you see them riding the ship anytime soon? Do you see what's our way out of this situation with TCM? It's just like Midnight Ghost Hunt. We had the highs were great for a week, and then cracks started to show, and then developers and CM started being really cunty for no reason, and it's been failure after failure. When was their last win? When was the last win for TCM? When was the last
game's launch?
Oh, yeah.
They fixed the gas station car exploit.
Yeah, they fixed the matchmaking errors that everybody was getting, all that invalid credential stuff. That was the last win, I think.
That was after a huge L.
Remember when there was remember when there was a huge selling point that there was going to be crossplay, and then crossplay was off for longer than it had been on before it got turned off because of exploitation. There's just been fucking loss after loss, L after L. And they're not even cool, man. They're not even being nice to people. They're just being cunty all the time and talking shit on Twitter and talking shit on Reddit.
They have the worst attitude I've ever seen from a games company online. There's being sassy with your players in a fun way, they're just nasty.
Gary, you're gonna love this too. You're gonna love what I'm about to say. Gary fucking called this like before the game ever got into technical tests.
I did.
Gary sent me a tweet and was like, I don't think I like the way that Wes is talking to this guy. He seems like he's really, really arrogant for no reason. The game's not
very
shot
nice.
yet."
Not sure I love the impression, but
Yeah, he said to me, he's like, if this is a big red flag because the game's not even been technical tested yet, and they're being really cocky with random people on the internet for no reason. Like they're just flexing on nobodies for no reason. That are complaining, that are like voicing concerns.
This is before Matt joined the fight.
And yeah, this is before. And again, I have a generally positive opinion of Wes. Wes is a great guy, but like, you know, he was already kind of like sowing the seeds for like these guys. And for me, I remember telling Gary, I'm like, nah, I love this shit, man. I love that he's confident. He's confident. He's going in with a plan. He's cocky because he knows this game's going to blow up. And all we've seen is this game blow up in the wrong direction.
It's
right?
Yeah. It's one thing to be cocky and confident and have that rock star attitude, and then put out just a banger, a masterpiece, and it blows up. Yeah. But when you have that cocky rock star attitude and you put out something and it just kind of starts
you
flopping,
don't get to,
doesn't really go anywhere.
You don't get to carry. You don't get to be like a mumble rapper on fucking SoundCloud and pretend like you're Kanye. Like you have to prove shit before you can go out there and be a psycho, arrogant bastard, right?
Doug, can you remember what your quote was? You said something really poignant about arrogance, and I can't remember what it was.
Something about there's a like a fine line.
Yeah, there's like a fine line between. There's something more poignant than that. But
a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Yeah.
And I think that a confident person doesn't feel the need to qualify themselves. They just
that was confident. It. Yeah.
They're just confident. Right. And then if you're constantly feeling the need to prove yourself, you're probably arrogant, not confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And arrogance is a sign of weakness. It's a sign of like, I'm not really sure that I'm as cool as I'm acting like I am. And that's why they're constantly having to drag people down on Reddit and Twitter and constantly having to like, you know, talk down to people because they're like bringing up the very real point that maybe you didn't need to order a bunch of back-ordered magazines to get cosmetic ideas when you could have just used the fucking internet that was invented years ago.
Like when you gave that list of like, this is how we have to build a cosmetic. I was like, this is the dumbest thing.
Well,
it shouldn't take months to make a cosmetic.
No, it shouldn't. My thing too is like, does this sound like a fucking party game to you guys?
No. And that's
2 months to make a cosmetic?
It doesn't have to be a party game.
It's so serious.
I know Wes and those guys, they always talk about how they're making art. Like these games are an art form and we're making art.
Which I agree.
I am totally down with that. But like just be that then. Just be like, this is an art. But they're like they sell themselves as a party game and an accessible, fun game. And then it's not that. It's not that.
It's almost like they see themselves so much as artists, they're a bit pretentious about it.
Yeah.
Like they're above everyone else.
A bit
just players. Just mere players. They don't quite understand the inner workings.
You don't understand the nuances of what
you guys are
doing
shit
here.
at it.
Like what you're doing is killing your game slowly.
We'll check back in a year from now and see who was right.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to be them. They've dropped things so hard so far, mishandled them. You know, and another thing too that we haven't even touched on is that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of the reason why we're going to be broadening past being an asymmetrical horror podcast.
Yeah.
Because we were really banking on this game giving us something to talk about besides just DBD week in and week out, and broadening the genre and making it more mainstream and accessible, and it has not done that.
Yep, that's absolutely a really good point. It's like this like us moving in a different direction with Spine Chill is like a direct result of the latest. Like, was there another ASIM that was more poised to be relevant than Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No.
The heroic returning devs of Friday the 13th, an iconic license, months and months and years of hype built up, an extremely fun and successful technical test. Like we were like, this is it, man. This is gonna give us something to do in between chapter releases for DVD, and they just completely fell flat. None of us are excited about it.
I'll add one more caveat to that. I also think TCM is going to be, for me, remembered as probably the thing that started to bring the downfall of the asim horror genre. Because I have just seen a trend now of like it's slowly starting to turn against the tide because TCM gave people a taste of what could be fun, and it just didn't live up to it. And people have gone back to DVD, and the taste just isn't the same. And I think people are starting to move on. And actually, weirdly, Ghostbusters might end up being the only one that survives because it did not attach itself to the asymmetrical horror players. It didn't go near the DVD players. It's its own thing. It's got like its own player base. Maybe that was actually the wisest choice. Maybe they thought about working with the DVD creators and were like, fuck that.
I think a troubling aspect too is that, and I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but DVD, I think the general feel of everybody is moving towards the idea that DVD has kind of peaked. And if DVD has kind of peaked and it's the king of the asymmetrical horror genre, then asymmetrical horror has kind of peaked. And if TCM isn't going to do any replacing and it's just going to be one of the many Grateful Dead here that we have on our tier list, then, it makes sense what you're saying, that asymmetrical horror might have seen the last of its good days. And
you only have to look at the
here.
Xenomorph. How much excitement is there about the Xenomorph? Like when Nemesis came out and Wesker and Pyramid Head and all these other iconic characters, people didn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
What are people getting excited about now? They're getting excited about re-releasing Stranger Things stuff. Like,
yeah, but give it a few days, people will be bored again because it's who cares? Like it's the same with Xenomorph. Xenomorph kind of vanished about the same pace as Sadako.
Yep.
In terms of people playing it.
I think I played against like two Xenomorphs, I think, this week.
And it's a Xenomorph. That's
the skin's
the
like
license.
And again, we all overwhelmingly were like positive about that release, like that chapter. We were like, yeah, it was great. What a great chapter. They nailed it, and it just died off. I was like, okay.
Yeah, there's no complaints from my end. I think the map's perfect. I think the killer's really fun to play.
Yeah.
I don't feel as much as I used to. And I think TCM is part of the reason.
And I think you're not alone. I think a lot of the asymmetrical horror fans, a lot of the DVD fans are kind of like, they feel kind of numb at this point.
Yeah. And no one's coming to save us, guys.
Exactly.
We got Killer Clowns is not going to save the genre. Carnival Hunt's not going to save the genre.
Forgot about that game.
Yeah, I know. So did everybody else. That's the thing. There's nothing's coming to save us. Like at best, if maybe there's like a secret project happening right now we don't know about, and then they'll just be like, boom, we dropped a trailer. But like otherwise, like if Texas Chainsaw can't do it, Killer Clowns can't do it. It could be fun. It'll be fun for a while. It might even get to Ghostbuster levels where it's like tolerated within the community, right? But like that's its ceiling. I feel like at this point. And back when we were excited about TCM, we were also excited about Killer Clowns. So Gary, I think you're making a really good point. Like TCM has broken our spirit.
If I'm as probably the person who's the most excited for Killer Clowns, I don't really care that much anymore.
Yeah, it'll be neat to try it out, and maybe it'll be fun for a while. Maybe it'll give us more than TCM and Midnight Ghost Hunt. Maybe it'll stick around like Ghostbusters, where every 3 months we're like, we should really play Killer Clowns again. Then we'll play it for a day and then not play it again. But that's the ceiling at this point, as far as my expectations go. I mean, TCM was going to save us, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
And now we're left being like, what horror game do you guys want to talk about next week? Because we can't do asymmetry.
You guys want to talk about Alan Wake 2 next week?
Well, whereas I want to talk about Outlast Trials. I want to talk about Phasmophobia. There's so many games that we can start talking about now, and not restrained by a dying genre.
A dead genre. They don't call it dying; it's dead. If you can't have one game and call it a genre, and let's be honest, put all these games together and they're not touching DVD. It's just this is a dead fucking genre. It's a one game genre with a bunch of copycats.
Yeah, when you look at this, the closest game to it is Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And John, your feelings about Ghostbusters is probably 90+% of the DBD's player's perspective, and it's like, I don't give a shit about this game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then after that, you've got Prop Night.
Right.
Prop Night's number 3 on our list of like games that are still around.
Games, yeah. I think one of the strange things about this genre is that no major publisher besides Capcom has ever given it a chance. There's no EA asymmetrical game. There's no Ubisoft asymmetrical game. There's no Activision asymmetrical game. They all just have kind of looked at the success of DBD, which is moderate success, but not like it's no Fortnite. And they've thought, nah, I think we're good. We'll just keep making battle royales and MOBAs and shit.
Yeah.
They've ignored the genre.
And reverse.
So, yeah. And so it's like, I mean, DBD can't be around for forever. It's kind of, you know, it's got a 7-year lifespan, which is great. I can only think of like League of Legends, maybe that's been around for longer. Maybe Rainbow Six Siege, I don't know. In terms of like multiplayer games that have had that kind of longevity, but it can't stick around for forever. And unless there's another game that enters the space, the genre can't continue to go forward in mainstream success. So it's depressing.
Yep.
Thanks, TCM.
Doug, I think you're right. It belongs in C tier at the bottom because it has essentially killed the hope of an entire genre.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to put it next to Midnight Ghost Hunt, above Dead Realm, just because I think they're really comparable games. They have a good core gameplay loop. They were fun for the first week, and then they've been shit ever since.
So that's the takeaway from the podcast, which I really like, is that Midnight Ghost Hunt is better than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
And it pains me so much to agree with you, but you're right. Project Playtime, genuinely a better game overall.
Yeah, see, I can't.
Better managed.
That feels so weird, but I kind of agree.
Yeah, better managed.
Which one would I rather play right now? It's not TCM. I've uninstalled that.
And I'm a Poppy Playtime hater. Like, I've boycotted the single player games. I don't like Mob Games, the developers. I think they've done a lot of shady stuff, including all their NFT shenanigans that they tried to cover up. Like, oh, we never did that. But I still have to put them above TCM.
Yep.
It's just
Depth is a better game than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
Honestly, I want to play Depth. If we all have it installed still, we should play it. Or listed in our library, I guess. But because I'd love to play that game again.
So if the TCM devs watch the podcast, we're very disappointed in you guys. You killed our podcast.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they don't care. I've tweeted about TCM a few times and I haven't gotten any interaction from them.
Yeah.
So
they killed our podcast. Now we get to, well, I don't think they killed us. I think they let us really live.
Oh, they've probably revived us.
Yeah.
Like, I think we'll thrive from this.
We'll have to make
I think this has been a fantastic season as well.
Yeah, it has been, and we can book club this shit. We can start picking a game. Be like, we're gonna play this game this week, and then we're gonna talk.
Oh my god, I would love to do that.
That would be a lot of fun,
that's such a cool idea.
Book club. Yeah.
Can they sometimes be something like? Do we take a week each to pick one?
You're just trying to get me to play fucking Dino Crisis or whatever. Dino Island or whatever.
Paleo Pines.
Paleo Pines, that's the one.
No, it would have to be a game that I haven't played either.
I don't know. I'm honestly, if it's with you guys and it's content that we're making and we're having fun, like, I always have fun with you guys. So if we play, I'll play some weird ass game if it means that you guys we can make fun of each other and have like a silly, I don't know. I think it'd be fun. I would literally play whatever. I play Fae Farm for you guys. All right, I'll play whatever. Just tell me what you want me to play.
You've actually got more hours in that game than I have, Doug.
I do.
I haven't played it.
We should for the book club. We should try to pick like shorter experiences.
I was thinking like little indie games or something.
Yeah. Because I mean, if I'm like next week, Alan Wake 2, that's like a 20-hour game. That's not gonna happen. So I gotta pick something like real.
Or we can give ourselves like a play 3 hours of this game or something, or 2 hours or something.
Or if we wanted to, I would even be down to try some like longer games if we were like, hey, let's talk about it like in a few weeks, so you have time to grind it out. Because I would play Alan Wake. I've never played Alan Wake, but I would play it.
I want to play. I want to play the first one first, though.
So do I. So I would invest the time.
So here's what I'll just say about Alan Wake, just real quick. The 2010 game, the original, is kind of outdated. It's super normie in terms of like gameplay. I don't think it's that special. Some people really love it, but playing it now is going to be different than playing it then. Alan Wake 2, I'm like halfway through it, and that's a special game. I'd be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on it. It's very different.
Okay. Well, I feel like you'd have to play the first one to really appreciate the second one, maybe. So I want to do that.
So, I agree to a certain extent, but Alan Wake 1 is a notoriously confusing game at the same time, so I'm not sure how much it would actually elevate the experience of 2.
Gary,
so frankly. It's so old now that if I get to a point where I'm like, I'm confused and getting annoyed, Google.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gary, I own Alan Wake. I'm down to play it. If you want to play it, we can talk about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I could download it.
I'm down to check it out.
It's another thing too is that so there's Alan Wake, there's the first Alan Wake, and then there's Alan Wake's American Nightmare.
Oh
And
god,
then
is
there's
this turning into
also-
Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, and then there's
Has
also
it got Alan Wake 1.5 remix?
no, but
HD. HD.
there is American Nightmare, and then there's DLC for the first game, and then there's Control, which has a lot of Alan Wake lore in it.
Oh,
'Cause it's the
Control the
same
game
universe.
with the like
Yes.
throwing thing.
Yeah.
That's a Alan Wake game. I thought
It's
it
the
was
same
so
universe.
cool. I never got into playing it.
Same universe, yeah.
Oh,
like
then I'm-
Alan Wake's in the game apparently. I never played Control.
Okay, so I
But-
play Alan Wake, then I play the DLC, then I play Control, and then I play Alan Wake 2.
I mean, if you want to go through all that, I'm just saying.
And then we can do our book club.
It's like a very confusing series. I played Alan Wake 1, and playing through Alan Wake 2, I am a little bit still confused about some things. Part of that's because I played Alan Wake 1 forever ago, but still.
It looks like Alan Wake is 11 hours to play the main story, and then like an hour and a half for the Signal DLC, an hour and a half for the Writer DLC, and then 3.5 for American Nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that. I mean, I put that much time into fucking Midnight Ghost Hunt. You know, It's not that-
I would ask if we just put a pin on that particular game for the time being.
No, I'm not saying for next
Well,
week or anything.
I think
yeah.
what we're doing right
because
now.
I need to play Bloodborne first. So.
I think we're just getting excited and talking about stuff now
Yeah.
because we're like, oh
Right,
my god,
right.
we finally
this is
TCM freed us. We can talk about other games.
TCM was the sock that Dobby needed.
Real. Oh my god.
Well,
That's so
on
fucking
that
funny.
note, real quick, I just want to read out our tier list just as a formality
Yes.
from top to bottom. See how we like it to wrap things up. So in S tier, we've got Dead by Daylight, Standing Alone, King/Queen of the tier. We love it. A tier starts with Resident Evil Resistance, then Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, then Friday the 13th.
Fuck you,
B-tier.
Gary.
B tier goes Evil Dead, Propnight, VHS, Depth, Left 4 Dead, and C tier, Project Playtime, Midnight Ghost Hunt, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dead Realm. Doug tier starts with Back 4 Blood, then goes into Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals, ends with Secret Neighbor. F tier starts with Home Sweet Home Online, Identity V, Last Year, White Noise 2, Monstrum 2.
I think our tier list is perfect.
I do too, and I have one closing thought, and it's that we, with receipts, with logic, with reasonable discussion, place Texas Chainsaw Massacre between Midnight Ghost Hunt and Death Realm, and we're all really happy with where it's at.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I wouldn't change it. Like, when you read it all out as a big list. And you know what? I know we had our differences about Poppy Playtime and Friday the 13th and stuff, but I'm actually very happy with the structure of the list.
Me
Same.
too. I
It's
think it's
pretty
our
mu-
best tier list, actually.
I think it's
I think it's
really-
our most accurate.
really close to perfect. I have a couple of picks to knit, but at the end of the day,
I also
Solid.
think
solid
that
work.
this is our list that is most likely to make people angry.
Oh, people are gonna hate us.
Which
dude.
which one do you think will piss them off the most? Do you think it'll
I
be DBD being S tier, or do you think it'll be Texas
I think-
Chainsaw being in,
No,
like,
Identity
in
V.
bot-
Identity V being
Identity
F
V,
tier.
Identity
Is
V,
gonna-
without a doubt.
We're,
I forgot
we're
that game was in the
gonna be
list.
out.
We're gonna
They're
get
gonna be out
DDoS,
for
bro.
tropes.
We're done. We're
They're
dead.
gonna- Yeah. Yeah, they're
It's
gonna
not
get
our
so
fault
mad.
that the game sucks.
Yeah, it blows ass. There you go. If you're listening to this and you're upset already, it blows ass.
You know what? You
Fight
know
me.
what? I think we're too nice. I think that's where it goes.
Easy.
It is really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. Bottom of F tier. Yeah, you see where your talk got you?
Yeah,
Bottom of
you
F
try and
tier.
leave us comments.
Yeah. We
We
did
just,
it
we, just,
preemptively.
we just downgraded for your future complaints. Get
Yeah.
shit on.
And-
Exactly.
Are you continue to complain? We could put it in James tier.
Yeah, you don't want it in James tier.
Yeah, I'll tell you
We
right
can put it in
now.
James tier.
I'll tell you right now. Yeah, Identity V is the game that I wish was in James tier because I wish you never fucking played it. Any of us.
Oh.
I wish we would've just-
I wish
we
it never
would've just skipped it.
existed.
Yeah.
I regret playing it.
I want my time back. I want my 2.4 hours that I put into it back. So I can put it into one of these other dead ASIMs instead.
Well, this is it exaggeration to say best season yet?
I think
Might
it's
be-
our best season.
It
I
might
don't
be-
like.
It might be
I
our
think it's-
longest too. It's like 3.5 hours we did.
Yeah, this is definitely our longest, and I'm so hungry now.
Yeah.
I am like,
oh shit, it's like
starving.
it's almost like it's like 1:30 a.m. here.
If you want to lose that appetite, just play a couple rounds of Identity V and you'll be fine.
It's also my daughter CK. She's it's about her bedtime. She's getting ready for bed now. So
let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here. You know, we didn't even talk about the DVD Haunted by Daylight event. Maybe we can talk about that next week.
Yeah, it was really good.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, like well done, DVD. This is why you're an S tier.
You know,
you deserve it.
They directly addressed one of my complaints from several episodes ago where I was like, every event's the same in DVD. This one was different. Very different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well done, DVD. Well done, behavior.
Well done, as usual.
Yeah.
S tier.
Just below Ilphonic.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do an asymmetrical horror game tier list of developers next.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that next season where we can just completely shit on Gun all over again.
Jesus. We could just repeat ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thank you all for listening, especially our friends in Romania. On behalf of me, John Wolf, senior co-host Gary the Hot Cross, and junior co-host Doug Running Man. We would like to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on season 41. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hugs and kisses.
Friday the 13th would have been S tier. It would have been S tier. Friday the 13th would have been S tier. Bye.
Bye.